Chapter 115. Remember the literature building in 1 second. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. MOG's expression was very ugly. He roared and charged at Lin Tiansha crazily. Boom! The high-grade spirit spear burst out with a shocking killing light, like a furious dragon piercing toward Lin Tian. Lin Tianling snorted, turned around, and slapped MOG's face. With a bang, MOG was sent flying again, and he fell 3 zhang away. How dare you charge at me in your current state? Scram to the side. Lin Tianling said. MOG's mouth was full of blood, and he stared at Lin Tian with hatred. Lin Tian didn't care about this at all. He bent down, picked up Su Muyan's high-grade spirit sword, and put it in his stone ring. A high-grade spirit sword was worth 100,000 spirit coins. After that, he looked at the 3 people of the expeditionary army. It's your turn. He walked toward the 3 people step by step. The remaining 3 people were all experts in the second layer of the divine vein realm. They were much stronger than ordinary cultivators in the second layer of the divine vein realm. However, at this moment, seeing Lin Tian closing in, the 3 of them revealed a look of fear. Don't spare us. Someone begged for mercy. Even Su Muyan was killed. The 3 people's eyes were completely filled with fear. Spare you? What a joke. Lin Tian said sarcastically. His figure flashed, and he appeared in front of one of them in an instant. He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched out mercilessly. With a bang, the young man was sent flying. There were no wounds on his body, but blood kept gushing out, mixed with fragments of his internal organs. Crushing meteorite fist, a one-hit kill. The fear on the other 2 people's faces became more intense, and they staggered back. You stepped on the wrong spot. An indifferent voice sounded. In an instant, the grass under one of the young men's feet was shattered, and several auras soared into the sky and pierced into his body, killing him on the spot. In the blink of an eye, there was only one person left. Devil! You are a devil. God will not let you go. The man shouted. 20 people, 20 divine vein realm experts, and now 18 of them were killed in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian couldn't help but laugh out loud. Are you retarded? When you came to kill me, did you ever think about whether God would let you go? Hearing this, the man froze, feeling both fear and anger. Crack! At this moment, a crisp sound rang out, and the invisible barrier formed by the silence lock rune shattered with a crack. The expeditionary army youth stared blankly for a moment before his face lit up with ecstasy and he rushed out with a whoosh. Lin Tian shook his head. He lifted his leg and kicked out a spear. The spear tore through the air, and with a pu sound, it pierced through this person's chest, nailing him to an old tree, directly killing him. After killing this man, Lin Tian tilted his head to look at MOG. You are the only one left. With a calm voice, Lin Tian approached MOG. MOG's entire body was covered in bloody wounds. He had been pierced by the Azure Thundersword force and kicked a few times by Lin Tian. He was already severely injured, but even so, MOG's eyes were still fierce as he stared at Lin Tian. The look in your eyes makes me very uncomfortable. Lin Tian on Dao. As he spoke, he appeared in front of MOG in a flash and kicked MOG's chest. With a bang, MOG flew backward and rolled several feet away, brushing against the ground. Ah! With a loud roar, MOG struggled to stand up and madly charged at Lin Tian. Lin Tianling smiled and grabbed MOG's spear. With a violent shake, the part between MOG's thumb and index finger that held the spear cracked, and Lin Tianling took the spear away. MOG roared. With his spear taken away, he swung his right hand and punched. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that this MOG was indeed very strong. At this point, he still had the will to fight. However, this kind of fighting spirit made him very uncomfortable. With a cold glint in his eyes, Lin Tian revealed a cruel smile. He grabbed MOG's right hand and twisted it hard. Crack! MOG's right wrist was broken, and he let out a painful groan. Lin Tianling smiled and kicked MOG's left knee. The sound of bone breaking was heard again. With a bang, MOG knelt on one knee, and his face became somewhat distorted. You can still hold it? Not bad. Let's continue. Lin Tianling smiled. With a flip of his right hand, he raised the sword of origin restoration and ruthlessly stabbed it into MOG's left hand. A few years ago, the peerless genius of the Nine Sons martial house, #1 in the outer martial house, #1 in the inner martial house, broke the record of the mental state assessment, martial fanatic, and held a post in the Empire's expeditionary army. Lin Tianling laughed continuously. You really think you're that great? You know that I have the Deputy General's order, and you know that I'm an array controller, yet you still dare to gather people to kill me. As he spoke, Lin Tian raised his leg and kicked again, aiming at MOG's right knee. With a crack, MOG knelt on both knees. Bastard. MOG's face was ferocious, and he couldn't help but roar. Right now, it was as if he was kneeling in front of Lin Tian. Nothing good comes out of your dog's mouth. Lin Tianling smiled. Raising his left hand, Lin Tianyi punched MOG's mouth. With a bang, MOG spat out a mouthful of blood, and teeth mixed with blood fell out of his mouth. Continue. Lin Tianyi kicked MOG to the ground and said coldly. MOG struggled, but his limbs were crippled, and he couldn't stand up at all. You deserve to die. Almost all of his teeth had fallen out, and MOG couldn't even speak clearly. He stared at Lin Tian with a ferocious gaze. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. Not bad, at least you have some backbone. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Tian raised his right leg and ruthlessly stomped on MOG's chest. Unfortunately, I hate villains with backbone like you the most. Villains like you should be begging for mercy and fear at this time. Only then will you seem more adorable. As he spoke, he raised his leg and kicked again. Ah! MOG finally screamed miserably. Lin Tianling smiled. That's right. How can you keep quiet at this time? MOG stared at Lin Tian angrily. You deserve to, bang. Lin Tian waved his hand and smashed down with his fist. With such a powerful punch, MOG immediately coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his face twisted even more painfully. I told you, you are now a prisoner, and a prisoner should act like a prisoner. Lin Tian looked down at MOG and said, what you should do now is fear and beg for mercy. As he spoke, Lin Tian pulled out the sword of Gu Yuan and stabbed it into MOG's other arm with a poof. MOG screamed miserably, and blood kept pouring out of his mouth. Continue, Lin Tianyin said coldly. With one kick, one sword, and one punch, Lin Tian tortured MOG cruelly. After dozens of breaths, MOG finally showed fear on his face. Kill me, MOG said weakly. Lin Tian sneered, revealing a satisfied expression. To deal with this kind of person, he had to be as cruel as possible. He raised the sword of Gu Yuan, and the sword light was eerie. You will die soon, but don't feel lonely on the road to the underworld. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and looked down at MOG. Because soon, I will send all the members of your MO family down to accompany you. MOG's eyes widened, and his body trembled. Goodbye. With a poof, the sword of Gu Yuan swung down, and MOG's head flew away, but his eyes were still staring. Lin Tianling snorted coldly. With a flip of his right hand, the sword of Gu Yuan disappeared. Glancing around, he took MOG's high-grade spirit spear and put it into the stone ring. After a slight pause, he jumped and left. In the afternoon, when the sun was about to set, Lin Tian returned to Fengjian City and went to the Array Manipulator Guild. Sir, you are back. Mi Fei greeted him. Lin Tian nodded and smiled faintly. He had just experienced a battle of life and death, but as if nothing had happened, he quickly adjusted his state of mind and returned to his usual peaceful appearance. Moreover, when he came back, he took a new set of clothes from the stone ring and put them on. After all, the previous set of clothes was stained with a lot of blood in the battle. He handed the things for the task to Mi Fei. Mi Fei smiled sweetly and quickly sorted them out. After a while, Mi Fei said, including the previous tasks, you now have a total of 1,356 points. Do you want to keep them or exchange them for materials? Yes. Exchange them all for moondrops. Exchange them all for moondrops? Mi-Fei asked curiously. Lin Tian nodded. Yes. Okay, please wait a moment. With that, Mi-Fei walked from the counter to the back of the guild, and soon took out a small jade bottle. A total of 13 moondrops. They are all here. Please keep them well. Lin Tian kept it and placed it into his stone ring. Come to think of it, this thing was really extraordinarily expensive. Do you need anything else? Mi-Fei asked. Lin Tian nodded and took a pen and paper to write a long list of other materials for making the wind pattern. These things, please help me pick them out. Okay, it's no trouble, Mi-Fei said. Mi-Fei moved quickly, and soon all the materials needed by Lin Tian were selected, put them in a small bag, and handed it to Lin Tian. Thank you. Lin Tian smiled. Mi-Fei quickly waved her hand. You are welcome. It is Mi-Fei's honor to help you. In the past few days, Lin Tian had taken the time to see Ge Zheng. He had a brief chat with Mi-Fei here, and then went out in the eyes of other people in the guild. Soon, Lin Tian returned to the residence of the martial house. After washing, he went back to his room to rest. Until midnight, Lin Tian woke up, ate the meal prepared by Lin Shi, and then went to the top of the pavilion. Facing the starlight, Lin Tian ran the 4 extremes. When the essence reached the peak, he stopped. Whew! Spitting out a mouthful of turbid air, Lin Tian took out the materials for carving the wind pattern. The wind pattern was a third-order pattern, and it was a bit difficult to carve. However, Lin Tian's current array control technique was extraordinary, and this difficulty was nothing to him. At night, the stars in the sky twinkled, and the silver lights scattered to the earth, soft and charming. Lin Tian sat in the top of the pavilion, concentrating and seriously carving the wind pattern. Soon, the night passed. This night, he used up 13 moon drops and engraved 13 sets of wind pattern finished scrolls. Okay, tomorrow I will carve the solitary lock pattern. Lin Tian on Dao. Standing up and stretching his arms, Lin Tian walked down the top of the pavilion. Chapter 116. Remember the literature building in a second, providing you with wonderful novels to read. Early in the morning, Mu Qing and Sherdong were discussing something in the Elder Pavilion when they suddenly received a report from the deacon guarding the Elder Pavilion. The inner house disciple Lin Tian wanted to see them. Mu Qing and Sherdong were slightly confused. Sherdong said, "Let him in." "Yes," the deacon replied. Not long after, Lin Tian was led by the deacon to Mu Qing and Sherdong's room. After bringing Lin Tian here, the deacon left again. "Little guy, what's the matter?" Mu Qing asked with a smile. Lin Tian nodded. He first bowed to the two of them before opening his mouth. "Elders, it's like this." Lin Tian immediately recounted what happened in the dark forest yesterday. "What?" Mu Qing and Sherdong's expressions changed as they stood up. Sherdong's face was ashen as he slammed the table. "MOG, the MO clan, they must have eaten a leopard's guts." The MO clan had tried to assassinate Lin Tian several times before, and the Nanyang Martial House had already warned them. Now that Lin Tian's identity was exposed and he had the Deputy General's order, MOG still dared to make a move. This made Sherdong and Sherdong furious. Lin Tian Wei bowed slightly and said, "Elders, please forgive Su Muyang's matter." Mu Qing and Sherdong looked at each other and sighed. "Forget it. In the end, they only have themselves to blame." Mu Qing sighed. Sherdong had a bad temper. "The source of this matter is the MO clan. We must get an explanation." A cold light flashed in Mu Qing's eyes as he nodded slightly. At this moment, Lin Tian opened his mouth and said, "Elders, leave the MO clan to me. This is a grudge between me and them. I'll handle it myself." The MO clan is a martial arts clan. Although it's small, it's not something you can go against. How can you handle it? Sherdong frowned. Literature building. Elders, don't worry. Lin Tian is confident. Lin Tian Dao. Sherdong and Mu Qing were silent for a moment before they shook their heads. "Forget it. Since you said so, I'll do as you say." Sherdong felt helpless. Both of them knew that Lin Tian was not an ordinary person. Not to mention the expert behind Lin Tian. Just the fact that Lin Tian had been able to kill Mog and Su Muyang was enough to prove that Lin Tian still had many tricks up his sleeve. The two of them were not too worried. Sorry for the disturbance, seniors. Lin Tian will take his leave now. Lin Tian Dao. The matter had already been explained to Mu Qing and Sherdong. So, Lin Tian was ready to go back to cultivate and do some other things. Wait. Mu Qing called out to Lin Tian. Lin Tian stopped in his tracks. Is there anything else, senior? Mu Qing nodded and said, in around 10 days, the Northern Flame Imperial Academy of the Imperial City will send people to the Martial House to select the new disciples for this year. Since Su Muyang is already dead, the quota can only be yours this time. Lin Tian was slightly shocked. There would be people coming in 10 days or so. Don't we need to go through a selection? Lin Tian asked. Sherdong couldn't help but roll his eyes. You little brat, 16 years old, 9-star talent, second heaven of the divine veins, third stage array master. With this standard, you would be at the top of the world even in the Imperial City. Who in the Nanyang Martial House can compare to you? Lin Tian smiled awkwardly and was a little embarrassed. However, this was great news. All right, you can go, Mu Qing said. Lin Tian bowed to the two of them and slowly retreated, closing the door for the two of them. Although this action was small, it made the two of them nod involuntarily. This little brat is extremely talented and has monstrous comprehension. He controls the Deputy General's order and has such a terrifying teacher behind him. Yet he is always humble and gentle, polite and courteous. On the other hand, some people are arrogant, despotic, and have no regard for the law just because they have some aptitude and some insignificant forces behind them. Sigh. Sherdong sighed. This is the difference between people. This little brat is destined to be a dragon among men. Mu Qing said. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. At this time, the Mo family. Mo Hai stood in the Mo family's hall, pacing back and forth. Mo Hai naturally knew that Mog had gone to assassinate Lin Tian. At the same time, he had sent the Mo clan's godly archer, Mo Yue, to assist him. However, 3 days had passed, and Mog and Mo Yue had not returned. Mo Hai had sent someone to inquire about the news and was waiting anxiously. Patriarch, someone rushed in, his face extremely pale. Speak, Mo Hai said in a low voice. The disciple trembled and said, That Lin Tian is said to be in the Martial House, safe and sound. Mo Hai trembled violently, his face turning pale. At this time, another voice sounded. A middle-aged man walked in, his lips trembling, and he knelt in front of Mo Hai. Patriarch, young master and sixth master are dead. Boom! Mo Hai only felt a boom in his head, and the whole world spun. What did you say? Say it again. Mo Hai was furious. The middle-aged man trembled. We found young master and sixth master's bodies in the dark forest. The bodies are our... As he spoke, the middle-aged man tilted his head and looked behind him. Outside the hall, 2 bodies were covered by white cloth, leaving only 2 pairs of legs exposed. Mo Hai's face paled, and he trembled as he walked over. Lifting one of the white cloth, he saw the face of a middle-aged man. It was the Mo family's godly archer Mo Yue, Mo Hai's 6th brother. Mo Hai's hand was trembling as he lifted the other white cloth. Suddenly, Mo Hai spat out a mouthful of blood. Ah! Mo Hai roared, his eyes bloodshot. Under the second white cloth was Mog's body. His head was cut off, and his eyes were wide open. Lin Tian, bastard, I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. Ah! Mo Hai was mad with hatred. His youngest son, Mo's son, had been killed by Lin Tiansha. Now, even his eldest son, Mog, had been killed by Lin Tian. Mo Hai's eyes were bloodshot, and his entire body was filled with killing intent. He did not expect that his family would be the first to kill Lin Tian. At night, in the Nanyang Martial House, Lin Tian sat in the top pavilion. 2 spirit gathering runes were opened on both sides of his body, gathering spirit chi from all directions. Even the power of the stars had become extremely vast and rich. Buzz! Faint starlight surrounded Lin Tian, and the majestic spirit chi surged and circled around him. It could be seen that Lin Tian's essence, energy, and spirit had become more powerful. Cultivating in the top pavilion, 4 hours passed very quickly. It was midnight now. Lin Tian opened his eyes, and the spirit chi and power of the stars around his body dissipated. It's time. As Lin Tian muttered to himself, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Walking down from the top pavilion, Lin Tian glanced at Lin Shi's room. The little girl was sleeping soundly. Lin Tian smiled and carefully opened the door of his residence. He activated the Gale rune and quickly blended into the darkness. Not long after, he left the Nanyang Martial House and arrived in front of a luxurious mansion. On the plaque at the top of the mansion, 2 large words were engraved: Mo Family. At this moment, there were 2 powerful martial artists guarding the Mo family's gate on both sides. Their cultivation was at the 6th level of the refinement realm, and they were not weak. Lin Tian did not care. He snorted coldly and jumped over the wall on the other side, entering the Mo family. The Mo family's interior was brightly lit, even brighter than the Xiao family's. There were many weapon racks around, and there were all kinds of weapons. Let's begin. Lin Tianling smiled. That night, no one in the Mo family discovered that a black shadow was hidden in the darkness, going back and forth to every corner of the Mo family. The night slowly dissipated. Until dawn, Lin Tian left the Mo family silently and returned to his residence in the Martial House. I'm ready, Lin Tian muttered to himself. After returning to his residence, Lin Tian did not do anything else and slept peacefully. He slept all the way until noon. When he woke up at noon, the small wooden table beside his bed was still filled with delicious food. Looking at the familiar dishes, Lin Tian suddenly felt ashamed. He was the elder brother, but he had always been taken care of by his younger sister. Shaking his head slightly, Lin Tian got out of bed and washed up. He finished the food that Lin Shi had prepared, cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks, and walked out of the Martial House. Actually, he had already taken a fasting pill and did not feel hungry or thirsty. However, since Lin Shi had already prepared the food, how could he waste her good intentions? Every day, people came and went to the treasure pavilion. Moreover, the people who came and went were not ordinary. They were either rich or noble. After walking out of the Martial House, Lin Tian went directly to the treasure pavilion. Little brother Lin, welcome, welcome. Pooh sure laughed. Elder Pooh, Lin Tiandao greeted. Naturally, Xine Yao was already close to him. Seeing Lin Tianji greet Pooh sure, she could not help but narrow her eyes and say with a lovely appearance, Little brother, can't you see such a delicate beauty standing next to you? Lin Tian. He really wanted to say that he saw a source of disaster. Shaking his head, Lin Tian felt that he was still somewhat helpless with Xine Yao. His right hand shook slightly, and 6 scrolls appeared in his hand. He handed them to Pooh Sure. This is? Pooh Sure was slightly stunned. Lin Tiandao. Gale pattern scrolls. Lin Tianyi had engraved a total of 13 Gale pattern scrolls. He had used 5 scrolls when he went to the Mo family, and now he had 8 scrolls left. He gave 6 to Pooh Sure and kept 2 for himself. Gale pattern. Is that the divine pattern that can hide the body and increase movement speed that little brother mentioned before? Pooh Sure was excited. That's right. Lin Tian nodded. Pooh Sure and Xine Yao looked at each other and revealed a surprised expression. Taking a deep breath, Pooh Sure put away the 6 scrolls. Then he looked at Lin Tian and said solemnly, Thank you, little brother. You will definitely be satisfied with the price. 40,000 spirit coins for 1 scroll. What do you think? Lin Tianwei was stunned. 40,000 spirit coins, this price was really high. Shaking his head, Lin Tian smiled and said, No need, Elder Pooh. Previously, you sold the stone ring to me for 700,000 spirit coins. You lost at least 1,000,000 spirit coins. How can I ask for money for just 6 Gale patterns? This? Pooh Sure hesitated, but he quickly nodded and said, If that's the case, then thank you, little brother. Pooh Sure was also a martial artist, so he naturally had a forthright side. Since Lin Tian said so, of course, he would not refuse. Xian Yao looked up and down at Lin Tian. After a pause, she intimately held Lin Tian's arm and said sweetly, "Good little brother, sister's kindness to you was not in vain." Saying this, Xian Yao took out a silver token from her bosom and said, "With your talent, you will enter the imperial city sooner or later. Sister will give you a gift. In the future, it might be useful when you go to the imperial city." Chapter 117. Remember literature building in 1 second, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The silver token was much smaller than the general's deputy token. It looked a little delicate, like a girl's jewelry. "This is?" Lin Tian was puzzled. Xian Yao narrowed her eyes. "Isn't there a rumor in Supervisor Feng that there's a big family behind the Bao Pavilion? How should I put it? It's true." After a pause, Xian Yao continued, "There's something similar to the Bao Pavilion in the Imperial City. It's called the Treasure Loft. Of course, its scale is far from what the Bao Pavilion here can compare to." Lin Tian was surprised. There was really a big family behind the Bao Pavilion. Thinking about it, such a big family was far from what a small force like the Mo family could compare to. After all, even Mo Hai had to be respectful when he saw Pushi. Then this thing, Lin Tian stared at the silver token that Xian Yao stuffed into his hand. There was a word engraved on it. Xian Yao said, "With this silver token, in the Imperial City's treasure loft, most people will be respectful when they see you. If you want to buy anything in the treasure loft, it'll be sold according to the purchase price. There's a lot of good stuff there." Lin Tian was slightly taken aback. This little silver token actually had such great power? Looking at Xian Yao strangely, Lin Tian suddenly felt that this seductive woman's identity was not simple. "What are you looking at?" Xian Yao stared at Lin Tian and suddenly blinked. She leaned closer to Lin Tian and whispered, "Are you infatuated with me? If you are, I can wait a few years for you." This, Lin Tian couldn't help but cough. He was instantly embarrassed. Looking at Lin Tian's embarrassed look, Xian Yao couldn't help but laugh. It was really charming. So cute. Lin Tian blushed with shame. The word cute didn't seem to be appropriate for him. "This thing, is it okay for you to give it to me?" In a sense, this silver token had the same effect as the general's deputy token. It was very precious. Lin Tian wanted to know if Xian Yao would give it to him in any way. "It's okay. Don't worry." Xian Yao smiled. Lin Tian nodded. Xian Yao had already handed the silver medal to him. If he refused, wouldn't it be too disrespectful? Immediately, Lin Tian put the silver token into the stone ring. "Thank you, Sister X." He smiled. Anyway, Xian Yao was 2 years older than him, so it was normal for him to call her sister. "Good girl." This made Xian Yao very happy. She kept pulling Lin Tian to have lunch together. Lin Tian had already eaten, but he couldn't resist Xian Yao's enthusiasm, so he could only eat with her. After dinner, Lin Tian chatted with the two of them for a while before leaving. Pushi and Xian Yao personally escorted Lin Tian to the entrance of the Bao Pavilion. Watching Lin Tian leave, Xian Yao waved slightly to the distance. Only when Lin Tian was completely gone did she put down her hand. "Miss, is it really okay to give that thing to him?" Pushi said. "No problem." Xian Yao shook her head and stared in the direction Lin Tian left. Previously, because he was the youngest array manipulator in history, and because I thought that he had a very powerful teacher behind him, I thought that befriending him would be a great thing for us. There were only benefits and no harm. But now, I want to be a true friend with him, a friend without any disputes of interest. I think he is someone who could be a true friend." Pushi was slightly stunned, then he smiled. "What's wrong?" Xian Yao was puzzled. Pushi shook his head and smiled. "Nothing. This old man is just happy that Miss can have such thoughts. Indeed, Miss, you have a good eye. Even though that little brother has peerless talent and formidable strength, he treats others with sincerity, neither arrogance nor rashness. To be able to have such a true friend is absolutely a great thing in life." Xian Yao smiled slightly and became much quieter. "So, it's not a big deal to be the clan leader candidate. I don't like to compete with those people. If that thing can help him in some small way, it will make me even happier. Xi Niao said. It was still early when they left the treasure pavilion. Lin Tian returned to the Nine-Yang martial house and rested for a while before he went to the top pavilion to cultivate. The path of martial arts was very long and difficult. There was no room for slacking. Buzz! After activating the two spirit-gathering runes, the surrounding heaven and earth spirit chi immediately surged and flowed into Lin Tian's body. With the support of such a vast amount of spirit chi, Lin Tianyi sorted out the vigorous quintessential essence in his body. Then, he started to guide the meridians in his body to build the third divine vein. Lin Tian continued cultivating until the next morning when he stood up. Walking down from the top pavilion and facing the morning sun, Lin Tian walked towards the Wild Waves heavy array in the martial arts practice field. Ever since his cultivation reached the divine vein realm, Lin Tian realized that his essence, qi, and spirit were many times stronger. Now he only needed to rest for 4 hours a day and didn't feel any fatigue. The next day, his complexion was still very good. When he arrived at the Wild Waves heavy array, Lin Tian greeted the array guardian and stepped in. Lin Tian didn't feel anything when he stepped into the double gravity zone. He walked into the triple gravity zone as if he was walking on flat ground. After reaching the triple gravity zone, the pressure wasn't that great. It was only when he entered the quadruple gravity zone that he felt the true pressure. However, this pressure wasn't enough to stop him. He directly stepped into the quintuple gravity zone. When he arrived at the quintuple gravity zone, Lin Tian finally felt his body tremble and an intense pain came from it. It seems like I can only stop here. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He didn't know that there were some inner palace disciples cultivating in the triple gravity zone. At this moment, when they saw him step into the quintuple gravity zone, their eyes widened. They almost thought that they saw a monster. Lin Tian took a deep breath. When his martial body got used to the quintuple gravity zone's pain, he started to cultivate the yin-yang puppet. This movement technique was extraordinary. It had helped him get through many dangerous situations. It was one of the martial techniques that he was most proud of. Whoosh! 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 Stepping on the yin-yang puppet, Lin Tian's movements were very smooth in the quintuple gravity zone, even though his movements were limited. Of course, his speed couldn't be compared to the outside world. Soon, 4 hours passed. In these 4 hours, Lin Tian had been stepping on the yin-yang puppet from beginning to end. Finally, he felt that his physical strength couldn't take it anymore. His true essence was also severely depleted. I'm almost at my limit, he muttered to himself. Stopping in his tracks, Lin Tian took a deep breath and headed outside. When he walked past the triple gravity zone, some of the inner palace disciples were shocked and couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Although the triple gravity zone was a little far from the quintuple gravity zone, with the cultivation of these inner palace disciples, they could clearly see Lin Tian's movements in the quintuple gravity zone. They were all flabbergasted. A second-level divine vein realm cultivator could move in the quintuple gravity zone. Was he still human? Soon, Lin Tian walked out of the Wild Waves heavy array. He immediately felt much more comfortable. The effect of this formation on tempering one's physique is truly extraordinary. Lin Tian thought to himself. Every time he came out of the Wild Waves heavy array, he felt that he had gained a lot. Stretching his limbs slightly, Lin Tian left the Wild Waves heavy array and quickly returned to his residence. After taking a fasting pill, he went to the pavilion and continued to cultivate. The heaven and earth spiritual chi continuously flowed into his body, helping him connect his meridians to his Tao acupoints. Then, at midnight, the power of the stars rushed down, shining brightly. Sitting cross-legged in the pavilion, Lin Tian not only used the heaven and earth spiritual chi and the power of the stars to form his third divine vein, but also used them to continue tempering his physique. According to the 4 extreme scriptures, the human body had unlimited potential, and there was no end to the cultivation of the physique. Soon, a night of cultivation was over. After walking down from the pavilion and resting for 4 hours, Lin Tian went to the Wild Waves heavy array again to train his physique in the quintuple gravity zone. At the same time, he also cultivated the yin-yang puppet. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. During these 7 days, Lin Tian spent almost all of his time cultivating. Now he could barely enter the quintuple gravity zone. His physique had greatly improved, and his physique had become stronger. Moreover, during these 7 days, he had also cultivated several times in the vital essence condensing array. He could already maintain the same level of vital essence forging and consumption when he was 200 feet away from the array. The vital essence condensing array had increased by 40%, and the speed at which he absorbed the heaven and earth spiritual qi had also increased. In just 7 days, Lin Tian felt that his strength had improved a lot. At noon, Lin Tianyi went to the martial arts practice field as usual to cultivate. However, as soon as he walked out of his room, he bumped into Sushu, who was outside the door. Ouch! Sushu covered her forehead and stared at Lin Tian angrily. Lin Tian blushed with shame. This has nothing to do with me. Seeing Sushu's face become even angrier, and she gritted her teeth, he immediately changed his stance. All right, it's my fault. Sushu snorted. Only then did she feel satisfied. Master wants you to go over, Sushu said. Elder Muqing? Lin Tianyi was stunned. What's the matter? Sushu said. Someone from the Imperial City's Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard is here. You know what it is? Lin Tian came to a realization and nodded. All right, let's go. Sushu didn't avoid it. She pulled Lin Tian's hand and walked towards the Elder Pavilion. When Lin Tian and Sushu arrived at the Elder Pavilion, the martial house deacon guarding the Elder Pavilion didn't react. He didn't have any intention of stopping them. Obviously, Mu Qing and Shi Dong had already informed him. The two walked straight into the Elder Pavilion. About 10 breaths later, under Sushu's lead, Lin Tian arrived outside a room. Sushu knocked on the door, and Mu Qing's voice came from inside. Come in. Lin Tian and Sushu entered the room together. They glanced around and saw Mu Qing and Shi Dong talking with a purple-clothed middle-aged man. The purple-clothed middle-aged man had a surprised expression on his face. He's here. Mu Qing looked at the purple-clothed middle-aged man and smiled. The purple-clothed middle-aged man stood up and looked at Lin Tian seriously. Is this the peerless genius you were talking about? Just now, Mu Qing and Shi Dong had told the purple-clothed middle-aged man a lot about Lin Tian. Chapter 118. Lin Tian bowed respectfully. Greetings, Senior Su. Sizing up Suzhou, Lin Tian discovered that although this person was slightly younger than Mu Qing and Shi Dong, his cultivation was similar to the two of them. However, such a person was only a teacher of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. If that was the case, wouldn't all the elders in the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard be Sea of Consciousness Realm experts? Thinking of this, Lin Tian couldn't help sucking in a breath of cold air. The Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was indeed worthy of being called the highest martial house in the Northern Flame country. At this moment, Suzhou was also sizing up Lin Tian. With this glance, Suzhou's eyes immediately lit up. Good. Not bad. Earlier, before Lin Tian arrived, Mu Qing and Shi Dong had already told Suzhou many things about Lin Tian, which surprised Suzhou. Now that he saw Lin Tian in person, Suzhou couldn't help but nod his head. With Suzhou's eyesight, he could see that Lin Tian had reached the second level of the Divine Pulse Realm. 16 years old, and reaching the second level of the Divine Pulse Realm, he could be considered a top genius. Suzhou looked at Mu Qing and said, Brother Mu, can you test his talent again? You know that I have to see it with my own eyes so that I can report it to the elders in the Imperial City. Of course, that's not a problem, Mu Qing said. There was a place to test one's talent in the Elder Pavilion. The group soon arrived at a small room with a stone tablet in front of them. Little guy, go ahead, Shi Dong said. Shi Dong and Mu Qing smiled. Speaking of which, they had never seen Lin Tian's talent test with their own eyes, so they couldn't help but look forward to it. On the other side, Sushu also blinked her eyes and stared at Lin Tian. Lin Tian walked to the front, placing his right hand on the stone stele. Circulating his true yuan, the 5 stars lit up, Then, he circulated the true yuan in his body, causing the 6th to 9th stars to light up one after another, emitting dazzling rays of light. This scene caused the eyes of Mu Qing and the other 3 to flash with excitement. Amazing, Su Shu whispered. Although she knew that Lin Tian had a 9-star talent, she couldn't help but be shocked when she saw Lin Tian's talent test with her own eyes. It should be known that 9-star talents were extremely rare even in the entire Northern Flame country. These people were usually gathered in the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard in the Imperial City. Good, good, good. Very good. Su Zhou applauded. As he spoke, Su Zhou personally approached Lin Tian and said, "You're Lin Tian, right? I've heard that you're a powerful array manipulator. Can you show me a little?" Speaking of array manipulators, Su Zhou's eyes lit up. Sure. Lin Tian nodded. Without yin mo, Lin Tian casually took some water from the room. Then, he moved his 5 fingers and imprinted a complete martial fusion rune on a piece of white paper. This, Su Zhou was shocked. As an instructor of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, Su Zhou had naturally seen many array manipulators. There were also people who cultivated array manipulation in the Imperial Courtyard. However, at this moment, Lin Tian's proficiency in inscribing runes still shocked Su Zhou. Moreover, the martial fusion rune that Lin Tian inscribed seemed to be very unusual. The runes were extremely smooth and showed a majestic charm. On the other side, Mu Qing and Sherdong's eyes also lit up as they were surprised. Su Shu blinked her eyes. She didn't quite understand, but she felt that Lin Tian's inscribing technique was very elegant. After a long while, Mu Qing and Sherdong laughed. "Brother Su, how is it?" Sherdong smiled and was quite proud of himself. Good, good, good. Very good. Su Zhou kept nodding. As he spoke, Su Zhou looked at Lin Tian and said amiably, "Lin Tian, you should already know the purpose of my visit this time. Are you willing to enter the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard to cultivate? In the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, you will be able to obtain the best cultivation resources and the strongest cultivation techniques in the Northern Flame country." As soon as he finished speaking, Su Zhou stared straight at Lin Tian, as if he was staring at a precious treasure. 16 years old, with a cultivation base at the 2nd heavenly layer of divine veins, a 9-star talent, and the ability to control formations, this was definitely a top-notch genius. Once he could summon him to the Northern Flame Imperial Academy, the Academy would definitely reward him handsomely. Lin Tian pondered for a moment and looked at Mu Qing and Sherdong. Go! What are you hesitating for? Mu Qing smiled. Sherdong nodded in agreement. Lin Tian took a deep breath and looked at Su Zhou. He bowed slightly and said, "I'm willing." Hearing this, Su Zhou was overjoyed. Good. Su Zhou took out a small jade token and passed it to Lin Tian. This is the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard's disciple token. Keep it well and bring this token to report to the Imperial Courtyard half a month later. Lin Tian took the token and saw the word Imperial carved on it, exuding a majestic aura. Thank you, Senior. Lin Tian on Dao. Su Zhou waved his hand and was overjoyed. Looking at Mu Qing and Sherdong, Su Zhou said, Brother Mu, Brother Shi, don't worry. After returning to the Imperial Courtyard, I will definitely report to the elders. The Imperial Courtyard will definitely reward the 9 Yang Martial House for nurturing such a peerless genius. Mu Qing smiled. Then we'll leave it to Brother Su. Of course, Su Zhou said. Su Zhou was overjoyed and even a little excited. He immediately left the 9 Yang Martial House and headed back to the Imperial City. In Su Zhou's words, he had to report to the Imperial Courtyard's elders as soon as possible after recruiting such a peerless genius. Lin Tian and Su Shu walked out of the Elder Pavilion, but their hearts were still unsettled. After all, they were about to enter the Imperial Courtyard. After being reborn, I will definitely reach the end of my cultivation path, Lin Tian thought in his heart. Su Shu stared at Lin Tian. A trace of shock flashed in her eyes from time to time, and she would occasionally curl her lips. Lin Tian quickly noticed Su Shu's strange expression and asked, What's wrong, little Su Shu? Nothing. Sushu said, you have only been in the martial house for 4 months, and you're about to enter the imperial city. It's really too fast. In the history of the Nanyang martial house, there has never been anyone who entered the imperial courtyard after 4 months. Lin Tian stared straight at Sushu. What? Sushu took a step back. Lin Tian smirked and teased. Don't tell me you can't bear to part with me? Sushu's face turned red, and she immediately bared her teeth and scolded. Pei, who would be reluctant to part with you? Stop daydreaming. I'm just a little reluctant to part with little Lin Shi. Hearing this, Lin Tian suddenly became silent. After pausing, he looked at Sushu and said seriously, Sushu, I have something to ask of you. Sushu was stunned. It was the first time she saw Lin Tian so serious. Speak, Sushu said. Lin Tiandao said, half a month later, I will go to the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Can I temporarily entrust Lin Shi to you? After some understanding, Lin Tian knew that the Imperial City was not ordinary. It was filled with all kinds of conflicts. Now that he was going to the Imperial City for the first time, he was unfamiliar with the people and the place. He might accidentally get involved in some disputes. If he brought Lin Shi with him at this time, he was afraid that it would be a threat to Lin Shi's safety. He was not afraid of anything, but when it came to Lin Shi's safety, he had to be cautious. As if knowing what Lin Tian was thinking, Sushu said, Are you worried? Lin Tian nodded and did not hide it. Looking at Sushu, he said seriously, In this world, other than little Shi, the only person I can trust is you. Also, little Shi is very happy when she is with you. The martial house is the safest place in Fengjian City. If I entrust little Shi to you, I can rest assured. After pausing, Lin Tian asked expectantly, Then, can I? Of course. Sushu quickly nodded. Hearing Lin Tian say that other than little Shi, the only person he could trust was her, Sushu felt very happy. After thinking, Sushu said in a small voice, I don't know if little Shi is willing to stay. I can see that she is very dependent on you, her brother. Lin Tianwei was stunned and shook his head. It's not like that. It has always been me relying on little Shi. Thinking of the little girl, Lin Tian's eyes were full of gentleness. Looking at Sushu, his expression became even more serious. Thank you, Sushu. I will tell little Shi about this. Little Shi is very obedient and will definitely be willing to stay with you. Don't thank me. You said you only trust me. Sushu smiled. Also, I like little Shi very much. Lin Tian was very grateful, but he did not know what to say to express his gratitude. By the way, what do you need to prepare in this half a month? Do you need help? Sushu asked. Prepare? There is nothing to prepare. Lin Tian shook his head and then looked out of the martial house. His eyes flashed coldly. But before I leave, I will eliminate all the threats. Sushu followed Lin Tian's gaze and looked in the direction of the Mo family. Instantly, Sushu was shocked. Lin Tian did not hide anything from Sushu. He said, Not long ago, MOG returned to Fengjian City and led a team of expeditionary army experts to the Dark Forest to kill me. Of course, he did not succeed and was killed by me. You should know that the enmity between me and the Mo family is irreconcilable. Before I leave Fengjian City, I must eliminate this family completely. Otherwise, I will not be able to leave in peace. MOG went to the Dark Forest to kill you? Don't you have the Deputy General's command? How dare he do that? Sushu opened her eyes wide. And you killed MOG? That man was in the fourth sky of the Divine Range and had a team of expeditionary army experts following him. How could you kill him? How did you do it? Sushu was shocked by Lin Tian and asked a series of questions. That's right. Even if I had the General's deputy command, MOG still came to kill me. There were also other powerhouses from the Mo clan accompanying him. Before entering the martial house, Mo's son tried to kill me. This is the 5th time his bloodline has tried to kill me. This knot cannot be untied, nor can it be untied. Lin Tiandao. Sushu frowned. But you alone, how can you fight against the entire Mo family? Believe me, it's not a problem. Didn't I kill MOG and a team of expeditionary army experts? Those people were all divine range experts. Lin Tianwei smiled and said, "Now, Mo Hai is the strongest expert of the Mo family, but in comparison, Mo Hai is not as strong as Emoji. He is not a threat." Chapter 119. Remember the literature building in a second. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Looking at Lin Tian, Su Shu was speechless. Why was this guy so casual when talking about killing people? Is there really no problem? Su Shu asked. Su Shu knew that the grudge between Lin Tian and the Mo clan couldn't be resolved. It could only be resolved when one side fell. Don't worry, Lin Tian smiled. Forget it, it's up to you. Anyway, you have the Deputy General's order. If you really want to destroy the Mo clan, it won't be a big problem. Su Shu said, "Go play with Xiao Shi. In the future, she will be my sister." Lin Tian nodded and walked towards his residence with Su Shu. The next day, Mu Qing released the news that the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard had selected a new disciple from the Martial Palace. The person selected was the Inner Palace disciple Lin Tian. This news instantly spread throughout the Martial Palace. What about Su Muyang? Isn't he the #1 disciple in the Inner Palace? They didn't hold a selection? Strange. However, that Lin Tian does have the qualifications. Many disciples in the Martial Palace were discussing. Originally, every time the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard came to the Nanyang Martial Palace, they would hold a fair competition. All the Inner Palace disciples would participate, but this time, they directly selected a new disciple, which surprised many people. Many people thought that Su Muyang had the qualifications to compete with Lin Tian, but they didn't know that Su Muyang was already dead. In the Inner Palace, Tao Bai and the other two weren't surprised. 16 years old, Divine Pulse Realm, and a third-stage Array Manipulation Master. This time, the quota belongs to Brother Lin. That's right, Tao Bai and Tian Zhe said. Even the Silent Kong Hang nodded. He is indeed strong. The news released by Mu Qing caused a stir in the Martial Palace for 2 days before it gradually died down. Many people had already expected this result. As for those who thought that Su Muyang could compete with Lin Tianyi, they also quieted down. After all, whether Su Muyang or Lin Tian could enter the Imperial Courtyard had nothing to do with them. Naturally, Lin Tian heard all the voices in the Martial House, but he didn't care. At this moment, he was sitting upright in the pavilion, cultivating in an orderly manner. Buzz! The spirit chi of heaven and earth gathered and gushed into his body like little fairies. Now Lin Tian was starting to form his third meridian. He chose a set of Dao acupoints from his head to his left leg and used his meridians to connect them. This was a continuous process. Not only did it take a lot of time, but the process was also extremely boring. However, to a martial artist, this was nothing. After cultivating like this for an entire night, Lin Tian once again headed towards the heavy Wild Waves Array. After arriving at the Wild Wolf Formation, he directly entered the 6x gravity zone. Yin and Yang Qi. Taking a deep breath, Lin Tian stepped on the Yin and Yang Liang and began to cultivate in this Wild Waves heavy formation. In the following days, Lin Tian was almost constantly cultivating, tempering his physique, forming his meridian, tempering his physique, and condensing his true essence. Occasionally, he would also go to the illusory killing array in the inner mansion to test his combat strength. In this way, after 7 days, Lin Tian could already kill a demonic beast comparable to a third-level divine range expert with his bare hands. On this day, Lin Tian woke up from his cultivation, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. It's time. Standing up, Lin Tian walked down from the pavilion and headed out of the Martial House. It was almost noon, and the streets of Fengjian City were bustling with people. The hawkers' cries could be heard from time to time. Lin Tian's name had already spread throughout Fengjian City. As he walked on the streets, many people looked at him in awe. In this regard, Lin Tian appeared to be very calm. He was neither happy nor sad as he walked down in a certain direction. Soon, Lin Tian arrived in front of a big house. The house's plaque was engraved with 2 big words, Mo family. In front of the Mo family's gate, there were also 2 warriors guarding it during the day. Arriving here, Lin Tian appeared to be very calm. He walked straight into the Mo family's gate. "Who is it? Stop!" one of the guards shouted. Beside him, the other guards saw Lin Tian's appearance clearly. His face suddenly changed. "He is Lin Tian. Stop him!" The two guards rushed towards Lin Tian with spears in their hands. They were not polite at all. Lin Tian was expressionless. He grabbed the spear from the other guard and kicked him away. The guard hit the gate of the Mo family and fell to the ground softly. Then, he swung the spear in his hand casually and pierced through the other guard's abdomen. "Ah!" The man screamed miserably. He looked extremely sorrowful. Such a scene shocked all the passers-by outside the Mo family's gate. What is he doing? He is that Lin Tian. It is said that he has a grudge against the Mo family. He actually came directly to the Mo family's gate. Many people widened their eyes. As the only martial arts family in Fengjian City, the Mo family had been accumulating power for a long time and was very terrifying. Ordinary people would not dare to provoke them. But now, a 16-year-old boy came directly to the Mo family's gate. Oh my God! Many people were petrified. It was just one person, but he actually came to the gate of a martial arts family. Lin Tianyi did not care about these onlookers. In other words, he wanted these people to see him break into the Mo family and destroy it. In a few days, he would leave Fengjian City. Before that, not only did he want to eliminate the Mo family, but he also wanted to leave behind a deterrent. He wanted everyone to know the consequences of provoking Lin Tian. In this way, he would be more assured to leave Lin Shi in Fengjian City. Stepping on the stone road, Lin Tianyi walked step by step into the Mo family's gate. At this time, there were many disciples of the Mo family in the courtyard. When they saw Lin Tian barging in, they were shocked and angry. They were shocked because Lin Tian's name had spread throughout Fengjian City. Everyone knew about him, and they were almost no match for him. They were angry because he was just one person, but he dared to barge into the Mo family's gate so arrogantly. "Let's go together. With so many of us, I don't believe we can't take him down." Someone shouted, "Go!" Another person next to him echoed. Immediately, many people rushed over with swords and sabers. Each of their moves was extremely ruthless. There were more than 50 people here. Lin Tian was expressionless. The sword of origin appeared in his right hand. He shook it slightly, and suddenly, the sword radiance spread in all directions. Puff! 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 The people who rushed at the front fell into a pool of blood on the spot. They could not be more dead. Previously, he could let some of the ordinary disciples of the Shao family go, but not the Mo family. This family had tried to assassinate him time and time again. Even though they knew he had the general's token, they still dared to do it. They sent experts and MOG to the dark forest to kill him. How could he show mercy to such a family? Moreover, at this very moment as he stood there, he could clearly feel the killing intent and viciousness in everyone's eyes as they looked at him. Even though the shock and anger in their eyes were even denser, the killing intent and viciousness in their eyes could not escape his perception. He would never show mercy to these people. He would not be stupid enough to leave a threat to himself and Lin Shi. Clang! With a swing of the long sword, the boundless sword chi spread out and swept in all directions. The cultivation of the second sky of the divine range was so powerful that dozens of disciples in the body refining realm could not compete with it. In the blink of an eye, the courtyard of the Mo family was completely dyed red with blood. Corpses fell on the ground one after another. It was a ghastly sight. Oh my God, this is crazy. The periphery of the Mo family was full of people. Looking inside the Mo family, many people swallowed their saliva and trembled. In almost an instant, this news spread throughout the entire Fengjian city. What? In the Nanyang Martial House, Mu Qing and Shi Dong stood up in shock when they received the report from the Martial House deacon. Let's go and take a look. Mu Qing said. Lin Tian was now the treasurer of the Nanyang Martial House. Moreover, he had been selected as a disciple by the imperial courtyard of the imperial city. Nothing could happen to him. Immediately, Mu Qing and Shi Dong walked out of the martial house and walked towards the Mo family. In another corner of the Marshall house, this guy, Sushu, stared at him. Sushu already knew that Lin Tian wanted to deal with the Mo family. However, Sushu did not expect Lin Tian to rush into the Mo family alone. This was too crazy. So stupid. We have the general's deputy order. We could have just sent an army to destroy them. Sushu said angrily and ran out. Ibao Pavilion, this guy. Xian Yao's beautiful eyes lit up. Pushi smiled bitterly. This little brother is really reckless. Really? I think it's good. A real man should be like this. Xian Yao said. Ever since they found out about Lin Tian's true identity, Xian Yao and Pushi understood almost everything about Lin Tian. The grudge between the Mo family and Lin Tian was always the Mo family provoking Lin Tian. It could be said that today's incident was all because of the Mo family. This was the only time that Lin Tian took the initiative to attack. Elder Pushi, go and take a look. When the time is right, help him, Xian Yao said. Pushi smiled. Yes, Mississippi, the Mo family was considered a super force in Fengjian City. However, it was nothing in the eyes of Pushi and Xian Yao. Immediately, the two of them walked out of the Yibao Pavilion and walked towards the Mo family. Castle and mansion, what? There's such a thing? Duan Yan's eyes widened when he heard the report from his subordinate. At this time, Duan Yan's first thought was not about what would happen to the Mo family, but about Lin Tian's safety. Lin Tian was now the person in charge of the deputy general. If anything happened to him in Fengjian City, it would be the end of Duan Yan's castellan career. Prepare the horses, prepare the troops. Hurry to the Mo family immediately. Quick! Duan Yin roared. Duan Yin rushed out as if he was the wind. Almost at the same time, all the large and small organizations in Fengjian City were alarmed. Almost everyone gathered outside the Mo clan, blocking off the streets. Clang! Inside the Mo family's residence, the sound of a sword whistling was ear-piercing. Silver light flashed, and from time to time, there was a blood-red glow. Lin Tian was expressionless. He held the sword of origin restoration in his hand and advanced towards the Mo family's residence. He killed with every step, and no one could stop him. Bastard! At this time, an angry roar sounded. Emohai rushed out, followed by 3 other middle-aged men. Their eyes were filled with bone-piercing, killing intent. At the same time, experts rushed out from all directions of the Mo family's residence. About 200 people surrounded Lin Tian. Lin Tian seemed to be very calm and fearless towards this. You're finally willing to come out. I thought you were hiding. Chapter 120. Mo Hai and the others were furious. Lin Fan had barged into the Mo clan alone and dared to be so arrogant in the face of 200 clan disciples. Kill him, Mo Hai roared. With the Patriarch's order, everyone rushed toward Lin Tian. Energy sabers, sword chi, spear chi, and fist shadows pressed down on Lin Tian like an impenetrable wall. Clang! The sword whistled. With Lin Tian as the center, dozens of silver, sword chi rippled out. The energy sabers and spear chi that were pressing forward were shattered. Several people were sent flying and screamed in pain. You want to hurt me with just a few kittens and puppies? You think too highly of the Mo clan disciples. Lin Tiantan said coldly. The sword of origin restoration shone with a cold light. He charged toward Mo Hai and the others. Take him down! Kill him! Mo clan disciple shouted. Lin Tian was strong, but there were many Mo clan disciples. They had an absolute advantage in numbers. Lin Tian knocked away a person's saber. The sword of origin restoration vibrated, and a sword chi pierced the person's throat. The person fell into a pool of blood. At the same time, he dodged a spear that was coming at him. He waved the meteorite fist with his left hand and sent the person holding the spear flying 3 feet away. The person spat out a mouthful of blood and died on the spot. This, isn't he too strong? How terrifying. Outside the Mo clan, all the onlookers were shocked when they saw this scene. He had barged into the Mo clan alone and was surrounded by 200 Mo clan disciples. However, it was as if he had entered a no-man's land and killed one person with a single sword strike. Such combat strength was truly terrifying. Such a figure was truly astonishing. At this time, Mu Qing and Sherdong had arrived. They watched silently from the side. Su Shu had also rushed over. When she saw this scene, her eyes widened in shock. "Little girl, you're quite fast." A voice sounded. A woman suddenly appeared beside her. Xing Yao had arrived at some point and was standing on Su Shu's right. "It's you." Su Shu widened her eyes. "It's me." Xing Yao narrowed her eyes and smiled. "Are you still unhappy about what happened last time?" Su Shu snorted and turned her face away unhappily. Xing Yao immediately covered her mouth and laughed. Mississippi, Pushi felt a little helpless. The few of them looked towards the interior of the Mo clan, only to see Lin Tian amidst the encirclement of the Mo clan disciples. His footsteps were steady, and although there were swords and sabers slashing towards him from all directions, none of them were able to land on him. Pooh! The sword of Ge Yuan was lightly raised. The sword chi broke through the air and cut open the throat of one of the Mo clansmen. With a bang, another person was sent flying. He was struck by the shattering meteor fist and died on the spot. With a long sword in hand, Lin Tian didn't even use the yin and yang liang. He dodged the spears and swords one by one and closed in on Mo Hai as if there was no one there. With a thud, another person fell at his feet. "Are you going to wait until everyone is dead before making a move?" Lin Tiantan said calmly. Mo Hai's face turned cold. His killing intent and anger surged. "I'll kill you." With that, Mo Hai dashed out of the room. "Let's go together." One of the three middle-aged men next to him shouted. These three were Mo Hai's brothers, named Mo Bo, Mo Zhong, and Mo Bo was at the second level of the Holy Range, while the other two were at the early level of the Holy Range. At this time, the four of them attacked together. Suddenly, the other disciples of the Mo clan retreated. The patriarch and the three lords can definitely suppress him. Absolutely. Many disciples of the Mo clan looked at Lin Tian with cruel eyes, as if they were looking at a corpse. Boom! Violent Jin Yuan spread out as Mo Hai and the other three pressured together. Their might was terrifying, especially Mo Hai, whose battle prowess was at the fourth heavenly layer of the divine vein realm. A high-grade spirit sword appeared in his right hand, and the sword light suddenly filled the sky. That's right. Lin Tianling smiled. Mo Hai, who was at the fourth level of the Holy Range, was terrifying, but he wasn't afraid. The two swords kept colliding, and for a moment, sparks flew everywhere. Mo Hai was indeed very strong, and with the upper-grade spiritual sword in his hand, Lin Tian could barely block it. At this time, a long halberd came with a cold chill, aiming at Lin Tian's back. "Die!" Mo Bo shouted coldly, and the halberd in his hand became fiercer. Lin Tian didn't even turn his head. As if he had eyes on his back, he leaned sideways and caught the incoming halberd. The long sword spun and slashed behind him. With a puff, blood splashed. "Ah!" Mo Bo screamed as his right hand was chopped off. Lin Tianyi kicked Mo Bo away, and several disciples of the Mo clan caught him. "Bastard!" Mo Hai was furious. The upper-grade spiritual sword bloomed like a demonic lotus, crazily attacking Lin Tian. At the same time, Mo Zhong and Mo an attack from the side with terrifying momentum. Facing the three, Lin Tian felt the pressure, but his face was still calm. Clang! After swatting Mo Hai's sword away, he turned around and slapped Mo Zhong, who was approaching him, away. The origin-restoring sword trembled, and the startling wind sword was repelled. While forcing Mo and back, many disciples of the Mo clan were pierced by the powerful sword chi and died on the spot. Mo Hai was furious, and the upper-grade spiritual sword became even more terrifying. "Kill!" Mo Zhong and Mo and roared and pressed forward. At the same time, Mo Bo, whose right hand was chopped off, snatched a long blade from a disciple of the Mo clan and rushed forward. Suddenly, Lin Tianyi was facing four people at the same time, and the pressure multiplied. Clang! 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 The blade and sword clashed again and again, and the ear-piercing metal sound was heard. Mo Hai, a fourth-level divine range expert, rushed to the front with the upper-grade spiritual sword. Mo Zhong and the other two attacked together, and Lin Tian was in danger. After all, he was only at the second level of the divine range, and his battle strength was much weaker than Mo Hai's. He still can't do it. Nonsense, he's just one person. No matter how powerful he is, how can he fight against an entire family? He's too reckless. Someone shook his head. Lin Tian was indeed strong, but in many people's eyes, it was impossible for Lin Tian to fight against the Mo clan alone. At this time, Lin Tian was retreating, and his clothes were torn. "Old man, get ready to take action and bring him back," Sherdong said. Mu Qing nodded. On the other side, Sushu was anxious and hesitant. Xing Yao said, "Old Pu, get ready." Pu Shi nodded and took a step forward. Inside the Mo clan, Lin Tian's strength was still not enough to fight against the four experts. "Little bastard, die!" Mo Hai roared. The upper-grade spiritual sword shone brightly, and a murderous sword slashed through the air. This sword was terrifying. Mu Qing, Sherdong, and the others were shocked, and they rushed into the Mo clan at the same time. At this time, Lin Tian, who was facing danger, revealed a cold smile. Clang! Suddenly, under Mo Hai's feet, boundless sword chi rushed up, and the murderous intent was terrifying. Mo Hai's face changed drastically, and he retreated in panic. Unfortunately, it was a little too late, and the sword chi penetrated his thigh. Suddenly, his entire thigh was dyed red with blood. Outside the Mo clan, Mu Qing and the others stopped and looked at the Mo clan in disbelief. "This is?" The two were surprised. On the other side, Sushu and Xing Yao were also shocked. Only Pu Shi saw something and said to himself in confusion, "Just now, was it the martial fusion rune?" Mo Hai's entire right leg was dripping with blood, and he glared at Lin Tian. "What did you do?" Mo Hai didn't know what happened just now, but he could guess that it must be Lin Tian's doing. Guess. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. Mo Hai's face suddenly became angrier, and his murderous intent spread like the sea. "Pretentious! You're courting death!" Mo Zhong shouted. The long blade in his hand slashed down a divine rainbow, and Mo Zhong and Mo attacked Lin Tian together. Lin Tian stood in the same place. When Mo Zhong and Mo were about to get close to him, dozens of sword chi rushed out from the ground, and each of them contained the will of thunder. In an instant, the two were forced to retreat, and they suffered a lot of injuries. "Damn it!" Mo Zhong roared, and he had no idea what was going on. He could only retreat quickly. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly flashed, and it was Lin Tian. "You?" Mo Zhong was shocked. "Die!" The cold words floated in the air, and Lin Tian raised a long sword in his hand, and the sword of lightning slashed directly. Blood floated and sputtered in all directions, and Mo Zhong's head flew out diagonally. "Fourth brother!" Mo Hai shouted. Mo Zhong's head fell to the ground, and his body also fell with it, making a bang when it came into contact with the ground. Staring at Mo Zhong's body, Mo Bo and Mo roared. This was their brother, but now he died in front of them, and his head was cut off. "Bastard!" The three of them roared. Outside the Mo family, Mu Qing and Sherdong were surprised. This little guy. Originally, the two of them were ready to help, but they didn't expect the unforeseen event to happen so suddenly. Lin Tian was obviously at an absolute disadvantage a moment ago, but in the blink of an eye, he seriously injured Mo Hai and killed Mo Zhong. This really surprised the two of them. At the same time, the other onlookers were also shocked, and they didn't understand what was going on just now. At this time, only the roars in the Mo family were the loudest. "Everyone, kill him together. Kill him for me," Mo Bo roared. Saying that, Mo Bo was the first to rush out. "Intruding into my Mo family alone, no matter who you are, you must die today," Mo said ferociously. Seeing their brother killed in front of them, they were furious to the extreme. In an instant, everyone rushed at Lin Tian at the same time. Sword lights, fist lights, and leg lights all rushed over. You want to suppress me with numbers? You've miscalculated. Lin Tianling smiled. As soon as his words fell, the entire Mo family trembled. The ground cracked, and dense sword energy soared into the sky, covering the entire Mo family in it. Clang! The silver sword energy stirred up the wind and clouds, and the sound of thunder spread in all directions, shocking everyone. Puff, puff, puff. In the blink of an eye, dozens of Mo family members fell in a pool of blood. Well, what is this? Some of the Mo family members were terrified. At the same time, outside the Mo family, the onlookers' faces changed, and they were all shocked by this scene. Oh my God, someone muttered to himself. Almost everyone was dumbfounded as they stared ahead. At this moment, the dense lightning sword energy lingered in the sky above the Mo family like dark clouds. That terrifying power made many people tremble in fear, and their faces turned pale. Even someone as strong as Pooh sure couldn't help but be shocked. Is this his method as a third-stage array master? Chapter 121. Remember literature building in 1 second, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The dense silver sword aura hovered above the Mo clan, causing everyone's expression to change drastically. Oh my God, what is this? Someone was horrified. At this moment, the sky above the Mo clan seemed to have darkened. Sword auras that were 3 feet long circled around, and lightning arcs crackled nonstop. The scene was appalling. Blood splattered everywhere, and the Mo clan disciples all revealed terrified expressions. Damn it, what the hell is this? Mo Hai roared. A small gift, are you satisfied? Lin Tian said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, more sword auras fell from the sky with a thought. Puff, puff, puff. Blood exploded, and in the blink of an eye, more than a dozen Mo clan disciples fell into a pool of blood. More than 10 days ago, he sneaked into the Mo clan with the Gale rune and set up nearly 100 Azure Thunder Sword aura runes in every corner of the Mo clan, and connected them with the solitary lock rune. At this moment, he unhesitatingly laid out this great killing trap. Ah, no! Miserable cries came from all directions. At that very moment, Lin Tian activated all the martial fusion markings he buried in the Mo family. That scene was extremely horrifying. Killing swords fell one after another. How could the ordinary disciples of the Mo family block them? In the blink of an eye, the Mo clan courtyard was dyed red with blood. Some Mo clan disciples wanted to escape, but unfortunately, they touched an invisible barrier and couldn't get out at all. Patriarch, help! Someone shouted, but this voice was quickly drowned out by the sound of the swords, and at the same time, there was a bewitching blood-red color. In the blink of an eye, the Mo clan had almost turned into a hell of death. Outside the Mo clan, many onlookers were pale, and many people couldn't help but tremble. Is this something a divine range cultivator can do? How is this possible? Array controller. It must be the means of an array controller. He is an array controller. Many people were terrified. Sushu's eyes were wide open as she stared at the interior of the Mo family residence. Above the Mo family residence, numerous killing swords rained down, killing one Mo family disciple after another. At the same time, many sword lights landed in other parts of the Mo family residence, causing the pavilions to explode one after another. Xian Yao was also shocked. Elder Pooh, is this a formation controlling technique? We can be sure that this is definitely not something that belongs to the traditional martial path. With his divine vein realm cultivation, it is impossible for him to display such strength. Only the art of controlling formations is possible. Pushi said in a deep voice. He's only at the 3rd stage, yet he can go against a small clan all by himself. Array controllers are indeed terrifying. Xian Yao muttered to herself. Pooh sure shook his head. He stared ahead and said seriously, that's not the case. It's impossible for a normal rank 3 array manipulator to have this level of power. This little brother should have grasped some of the legendary runes. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to create such a shocking scene at the Tier 3 standard. What kind of person is the teacher behind this guy? Xi and Yao smiled bitterly. Inside the Mo clan, ear-piercing sword whistles constantly reverberated. Lightning sword rays fell like raindrops, destroying the Mo clan's interior. Pavilions collapsed one after another, and clansmen were killed one after another. The entire Mo clan fell into a state of fear at this moment. Miserable screams were endless, and it was terrifying to hear. Looking at this scene, Mo Bo and the others roared. Their eyes turned red as they rushed out in anger. Kill! Mo Bo roared. He held the saber in his left hand and slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tianlin glanced over coldly. Suddenly, a sword ray slashed down. With a bang, Mo Bo was sent flying and one of his thighs was crushed. Mo Hai and Mo an attacked together. Unfortunately, how could they block the unparalleled lightning sword ray? PFFF. PFFF. Both of them coughed out blood at the same time and were swept away by the sword ray. For a moment, more than 100 people in the Mo clan were frightened and uneasy as they fled in panic. Unfortunately, the surroundings were temporarily sealed by the Silence Lock rune. These people couldn't escape at all and could only passively endure the falling lightning sword ray. No! Miserable screams reverberated in the air, causing people's scalps to go numb. At the same time, the scene was even more tragic, causing many of the spectators outside the Mo clan to involuntarily tremble. At this time, sounds of footsteps rang out. Castellan Duan Yin finally arrived. Behind him was an army of more than 100 people, arriving outside the Mo clan in a grandiose manner. Duan Yin was originally worried about Lin Tian's safety, but when he arrived and saw the scene inside the Mo clan, he shuddered in shock. Disbelief was written all over his face. Behind him, the group of soldiers were also shocked. Inside the Mo clan, Mo Hai and the others were overjoyed when they saw Duan Yin leading an army here. Castellan Lord, please stop him quickly, Mo Hai shouted. At the same time, the Mo clan's disciples seemed to have grasped onto a life-saving straw. They all shouted in Duan Yin's direction. Castellan Lord, save us. Duan Yin stared ahead and saw that the Mo clan's courtyard was already dyed red with blood. Nearly 100 corpses were strewn all over the ground. Such a tragic scene made Duan Yin, who had experienced great storms, involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. Raising his head to look at Lin Tian in the Mo clan's courtyard, Duan Yin whispered, My lord, do you think we should first, as the only martial arts family in Fengjian City, the Mo clan still had some significance to the city. Seeing so many of the Mo clan's disciples dead, Duan Yin could not bear it. Lin Tian tilted his head and said coldly, You want to stop me? Duan Yin's expression changed. The subordinate dares not. Then stand aside, Lin Tian Lung said. Turning his head, Lin Tian looked at Mo Hai and the others without any emotion on his face. After that, the sword energy descending from the sky became even more terrifying. Puff! 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 Blood splattered as the Mo clan's disciples died tragically. Wails and screams filled the air. Mo Bo and the other two's eyes turned red. They were so angry that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. These were the direct descendants of the Mo clan. They were the future hope of the Mo clan. Beast, stop! Do you still have any humanity left? Mo Hai was furious. Humanity? Lin Tian looked as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He looked at Mo Hai coldly. You talk about humanity? Fine, let me tell you what humanity is. Humanity is that Mo's son and that bitch Xiao Yin kicked me off the cliff because they wanted to have sex. Humanity is that your Mo clan allowed that dog slave to burn down my Lin clan's ancestral home. Humanity is that Mo's son and Mo shamelessly plotted to kill me. Humanity is that your Mo clan sent people to kill me during the Outer Palace trial. Humanity is that your MO clan sent people to kill me during the Outer Palace trial. Humanity is that your MO clan sent people to kill me during the Inner Palace trial. Humanity is that your MO clan sent people to kill me even though they knew I had the general's deputy command. Lin Tian's voice was cold and indifferent. Every word was like a knife that stabbed into MO Hai and the others. At the same time, all the onlookers outside the MO clan's residence changed color. There was a rumor in Fengjian City that Lin Tian and the MO clan had a grudge against each other. Many people knew about this, but not many knew what kind of grudge it was. It was only at this moment that these people finally understood the origin of the grudge between the two. It turned out to be like this. This is too much. Many people were pointing at MO Hai and the others. Duan Yin originally wanted to ask Lin Tian to stop, but at this moment, when he heard Lin Tian's words, his eyes widened in anger. MO Hai, you have guts. One day, you will even dare to assassinate the old general himself. Duan Yin stared at MO Hai in anger. Duan Yin didn't care about the grudge between Lin Tian and the MO clan. What really bothered Duan Yin was the last thing. The MO clan clearly knew that Lin Tian had the general's deputy command, but they still dared to send people to assassinate Lin Tian. This was simply disobeying the old General Ji, and also disobeying the previous emperor of Beiyin. This was a crime punishable by the extermination of 9 generations of the clan. Behind Duan Yin, many soldiers were also glaring at MO Hai and the others. MO Hai and the others trembled, and their faces paled. After a pause, MO Hai stared at Lin Tian, his expression becoming extremely ferocious. No matter what, I will kill you. As he spoke, MO Hai rushed out, heading straight for Lin Tian. Kill! MON and MO Bo also roared. At this point, they knew that their clan had no way out. Forget Lin Tian. Even the Fengjian City Lord would not let them off. Assassinating the deputy command's deputy command, this crime was enough to wipe out the MO clan. At this point, the 3 of them only had one goal in mind, and that was to kill Lin Tian. This is all because of you, you little bastard. MO Hai's expression was ferocious. It never occurred to him that this was all because of the MO clan. Looking at MO Hai and the others rushing over, Lin Tian sneered and said disdainfully, "Is this your final struggle? Unfortunately, it's not threatening at all. I even killed MOG. Can any of you be stronger than MOG?" As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Tian raised his right hand, and the Sky Thunder sword in the sky immediately clanged nonstop. "Slash!" he said coldly. In an instant, a dense cluster of Sky Thunder sword energy rained down on MO Hai and the others. In an instant, the heavily injured and crippled MO Bo was struck by 3 Sky Thunder sword energy and died tragically on the spot. MO dodged 2 Sky Thunder sword energy, but he could not dodge more. A sword energy pierced his throat, and he fell into a pool of blood with a thud. Bam! MO Hai dodged the sword energy, but Lin Tian suddenly appeared in front of him and sent him flying with a kick. Blood flowed from the corner of MO Hai's mouth as he glared at Lin Tian. "Bastard!" Lin Tian snorted. 4 Sky Thunder sword energy instantly fell and pierced MO Hai's limbs, nailing him to the ground. MO Hai screamed in agony. The heart-wrenching pain made his face contort. Watch the MO family walk down the path of destruction, and remember that you reap what you sow, Lin Tian said mercilessly. As soon as he finished speaking, all the sword energy above the MO family fell. "No! Stop it! Stop it!" MO Hai roared like a madman. "Is that possible?" Lin Tian Lung said. The sword energy fell even faster, and in an instant, it covered all the MO family members. Spurt! 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 Blood splattered everywhere, and screams rang out. This process did not last long. After a few dozen breaths, the surroundings quieted down. Corpses were everywhere in the MO family, and blood stained everything red. Only MO Hai was still alive, and he was pinned to the ground. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He held the sword of restoration and walked up to MO Hai. "Bastard! Bastard! I curse you. You'll die a horrible death. Mo Hai's expression was hideous. The Mo family was destroyed just like that. Mo Hai glared at Lin Tian with hatred. Lin Tian was disdainful. He raised the sword of restoration and swung it down mercilessly. If curses worked, there wouldn't be a war. Chapter 122. There was dead silence inside and outside the Mo residence. Everyone was stunned. They stared blankly at the Mo residence. They could even hear the breathing of the people nearby. Read the full text. At this moment, even the air seemed to have frozen. The Mo residence is finished, someone muttered. They stared at the Mo residence. Corpses were strewn all over the ground. Blood stained every inch of the ground. Most of the pavilions had collapsed. It was a cruel scene. A powerful martial arts clan had been wiped out by a 16-year-old boy alone. This is crazy. This is crazy. Many people were stunned. They felt as if their worldview had been distorted. Lin Tian glanced at Mo Hai. He put the sword of origin restoration into the stone ring. Then, he crouched down and put away Mo Hai's superior-grade spirit sword and the stone ring on Mo Hai's middle finger. Then he turned around and walked out of the Mo residence. When he walked out of the Mo residence's main entrance, most of the people retreated as if they were avoiding a demon. Su Shu ran over and said angrily, "You're too reckless. How can that be? I've always done things appropriately." Lin Tian smiled. "Tui, since when did you have a sense of propriety?" Su Shu retorted. At this moment, Mu Qing, Sherdong, Pushi, and Xing Yao gathered around and greeted him with concern. "Little brother, you've really opened my eyes." Pushi smiled. It was truly shocking for a single person to wipe out an entire clan. However, what caught Pusher's attention the most was the dense sword aura. Pusher was certain that it was an array-controlling technique. As an array-controlling master himself, he was stunned by such a technique. Lin Tian smiled and said, "You flatter me, Elder Pushi." Xian Yao leaned forward and grabbed Lin Tian's arm without hesitation. "As expected of my little brother. You're different. What are you doing?" Su Shu glared at Xian Yao. Xian Yao giggled and said, "Are you jealous, little girl? If you are, I'll let him go immediately." Su Shu's pretty face turned red. She said angrily, "Who's jealous?" "You're blushing." Xian Yao covered her mouth and giggled. Su Shu gritted her teeth and glared at Xian Yao. Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. He really didn't know what to do in this situation. Pushi coughed dryly. "Miss." Mu Qing and Sherdong smiled. Looking at Lin Tiandao, they said, "It's good that you're fine, but this time, you were too impulsive. I'm sorry to have troubled the two seniors." Lin Tiandao. He knew that these people had rushed here because they were worried about him, and he was very grateful. "It's good that you're okay." Mu Qing waved her hand. The crowd was dense. Lin Tian, Mu Qing, and the others left the Mo family one after another. They were not willing to be surrounded. Only Duan Yin stayed behind to instruct the soldiers to clean up the mess of the Mo clan. There were so many corpses, so they had to deal with them. They clearly knew that Lord Lin has the general's deputy command, yet they still dared to send someone to assassinate him. They must have eaten immortal's guts. "You are courting death. Serves you right for ending up like this." Some of the soldiers cursed. The crowd outside the Mo clan didn't decrease. Many people were staring at the Mo clan. Although some people's faces were extremely pale, they still opened their eyes wide. The situation in Fengjian City seems to have changed greatly. Someone muttered. In the past, the Mo clan, Shao clan, and Qin clan were famous in Fengjian City. But now, only the Qin clan was left. Some of the more meticulous people had already guessed that the Shao clan was the same as the Mo clan. They were both destroyed by Lin Tian. After all, Lin Tian could even destroy the Mo clan. Why didn't he find trouble with the Qin clan, who controlled the Lin clan's businesses? Obviously, the Qin clan was only used to attract attention. The one who truly destroyed the Shao clan was Lin Tian. After leaving the Mo clan, Lin Tian parted with Xian Yao at a corner of Fengjian City. Then he walked out of the Nanyang Martial House with Mu Qing and the others. There are 8 more days until we report to Beiyin Imperial Academy. When are you preparing to leave? Su Shu asked. Lin Tian thought for a while and said, 3 days later. Oh! Su Shu nodded. What's wrong? Nothing. Lin Tian glanced at Su Shu strangely for a while, but he didn't continue to ask. After parting ways with Su Shu and the others at a corner of the Martial House, Lin Tian went straight back to his residence. It was still early in the night. Lin Tian washed up and went to the top pavilion to take out Mo Hai's stone ring. Let's see what's inside. Lin Tian muttered to himself. There should be some good things inside the stone ring worn by the patriarch of the Mo clan. Lin Tian infused his true essence into the stone ring. He found that the space inside the stone ring was about 15 cubic meters. It was 5 times bigger than the stone ring he was wearing now. Lin Tian's eyes lit up. This thing was worth at least 9 million spirit coins. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but think that the Mo clan was indeed worthy of being called a martial arts clan. After calming down a little, Lin Tian used his true essence to infuse into the stone ring and took out the things inside one by one. After sorting it out, he found that there was a 5 million gold deposit card in the stone ring, followed by some cultivation pills. Of course, these pills were very ordinary and didn't have much value. Of course, in addition to the gold deposit card and cultivation pills, there were other miscellaneous things in the stone ring. Lin Tian paused for a moment, and his eyes suddenly fell on a palm-sized piece of jade. This piece of jade should be some kind of antique and was very extraordinary. However, what really attracted Lin Tian's attention was the small characters on the jade. Maybe it was out of curiosity, or maybe it was strange. But Lin Tian raised his hand to take the jade and looked at it seriously. Suddenly, Lin Tian's face changed. The characters engraved on the jade were very small. An ordinary divine Vein Realm expert wouldn't be able to see them. Because Lin Tian cultivated the Heavenly One Soul secret art, his soul force was tyrannical, so he could see these characters clearly. Looking at these characters, Lin Tian couldn't help but reveal a look of ecstasy. This seemed to be the Azure Thunder Sword Art's incomplete manual. Taking a deep breath, Lin Tian quickly sorted out the words on this piece of jade. Then, he copied them down on a piece of paper. After doing all this, he compared the words he copied with the first 30% of the Azure Thunder Sword art that he had cultivated. He discovered that they actually matched up perfectly with the Azure Thunder Sword art that was broken in the Martial House. It really is. Lin Tian was excited. Looking carefully, Lin Tian found that the Azure Thunder Sword art on the jade was at least 30% complete. Calculating it this way, he now controlled 60% of the Azure Thunder Sword art. This made Lin Tian pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect Mo Hai to have such an item. Lin Tian suddenly felt grateful to Mo Hai. This 30% of the Azure Thunder Sword art was more valuable than the 5 million spirit coins and the stone ring combined. Taking another deep breath, Lin Tian calmed down. He took off the stone ring on his right hand and transferred all the useful items into the Mo clan stone ring. After putting away the items in the pavilion, Lin Tian put on the Mo clan stone ring. This 15 cubic meter space was obviously more practical than the 3 cubic meter space of the stone ring. After that, Lin Tian walked down from the pavilion and directly entered the Class 4 demonic beast area of the Greenwind Ridge. Clang! A sword whistled, accompanied by the sound of thunder. In the blink of an eye, a Class 4 demonic beast was killed by Lin Tian under the Azure Thunder Sword Chi. As expected, Lin Tian grasped the origin returning sword tightly. What was engraved on the thin jade was indeed the last 30% of the Azure Thunder Sword art. Lin Tianji only practiced it for a short while and felt that his battle strength had increased by a lot. The power of the Azure Thunder Sword art was even more powerful. Continue, Lin Tian muttered to himself. In the Class 4 demonic beast area of the Greenwind Ridge, Lin Tian wielded the origin returning sword to practice the newly acquired 30% of the Azure Thunder Sword art. Every slash of the sword carried with it an ear-piercing sound of thunder, as if there were waves of thunder surging. As for why Mo Hai had the last 30% of the Azure Thundersword art, Lin Tian didn't know. He guessed that Mo Hai had collected the thin jade itself and not the Azure Thundersword art engraved on it. After all, the words were too small. Even if he practiced the Heavenly One Spirit spell, he had to look carefully to see them clearly. Mo Hai definitely wouldn't be able to see them. At the very least, even if Mo Hai could see those words clearly, he wouldn't be able to practice it. After all, without practicing the first 30% of the Azure Thundersword art and the general principle, ordinary people wouldn't be able to see what kind of martial technique was recorded in those words. In the sky, the scorching sun was shining brightly. Lin Tian waved the long sword in his hand, and every slash was as shocking as thunder. There were a few inner palace disciples in the Class 4 area who happened to be tempering themselves. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but be shocked. This is Lin Tian. What a powerful sword intent. No wonder he could destroy the Mo clan alone. Terrifying. These few people muttered to themselves. These few people had just entered the Greenwind Ridge not long ago. It had been a few hours since Lin Tian destroyed the Mo clan, and the news had spread throughout Fengjian City. These few people already knew about it before they entered the Greenwind Ridge. Lin Tian noticed these few people, but he didn't care. In the Class 4 demonic beast area, he wantonly wielded the Azure Thundersword art. His whole heart was immersed in the sword realm. At this moment, every slash of his sword seemed to have the power to destroy everything. Every move was comparable to a low-level martial skill of the Divine Pulse realm. Time passed quickly. When the sun was about to set, Lin Tian withdrew his sword intent and stopped. Now I have 60% of the Azure Thundersword art. I have already cultivated the first 40%. Lin Tian muttered to himself. After a pause, he put away the Sword of Origin and walked towards the martial house. This day passed quickly. The next day, Lin Tian woke up early. After washing up, he went to Lin Shi's room. Xiao Shi, brother has something to discuss with you. Looking at Lin Shi, Lin Tian said softly. After a long pause, Lin Tian told her that he was going to the Imperial City and that he was going to entrust Lin Shi to Su Shu. Out of Lin Tian's expectation, Lin Shi nodded obediently without any resistance. This made Lin Tian happy and ashamed. After that, Lin Tian stopped cultivating and didn't do anything else. Instead, he brought Lin Shi out of the Nanyang martial house. Wherever Lin Shi wanted to go, he would bring Lin Shi there. Originally, he wanted to bring Su Shu along, but Su Shu seemed to be busy with something else. He couldn't find her, so he could only bring Lin Shi out himself. During this time, Lin Tian brought Lin Shi to visit Puxi, Xi Niao, Gezheng, and the others. He still trusted these people. After leaving Fengjian City, he hoped that these people could take care of Lin Shi. Of course, he also visited Mu Qing and Sherdong. The two of them had done him a great favor. Even if it wasn't for Lin Shi, he would still go. Soon, 3 days passed. On this day, Lin Tian packed everything and prepared to leave for the Imperial City. At the city gate, Mu Qing, Sherdong, Puxi, Xi Niao, Gezheng, and other familiar people came to send him off. Of course, Lin Shi was also there. Lin Tian, a voice sounded. Su Shu trotted over with a dragon scale horse and handed the reins to Lin Tian. This place is very far from the Imperial City. Ride it. Chapter 123. Looking at the dragon scale horse in front of him, Lin Tian was a little surprised. This was a peak 3rd rank monster beast, and its body was shockingly strong. Pausing for a moment, Lin Tian was slightly surprised, and then he was moved. No wonder he couldn't find Su Shu for the past 3 days. This little girl actually took the trouble to tame a dragon scale colt for him to use as a means of transportation. Old man Mu, your precious disciple's heart is probably stolen by someone. Sherdong teased. Mu Qing shook his head and smiled faintly. On the other hand, Su Shu was embarrassed and angrily stared at Sherdong. Lin Tian looked at Su Shu and said, "Thank you, Su Shu. To be honest, I owe you too much." Feeling a little embarrassed, Lin Tian paused, and a stone ring appeared in his right hand. It was the one he bought from the exchange pavilion. This is for you. It's very convenient. There are some other things inside. Mu Qing's eyes moved. This isn't it a little expensive? Mu Qing and Sherdong naturally knew what this thing was. A stone ring was worth at least 1,000,000 spirit coins. Compared to what she has done for me, it's nothing. Lin Tian shook his head. Su Shu cultivated with Mu Qing and naturally knew about the stone ring. She immediately took it happily. You remember the good of a young girl. But have you forgotten your sister? Xin Yao snorted. Lin Tian blushed. Sister Xin shouldn't lack this thing. I can't take out anything good. If you have any orders in the future, Lin Tianyi will do his best. Xin Yao was indeed good to him. Lin Tian naturally remembered this in his heart. Xin Yao's eyes lit up. This is what you said. You can't go back on your words. I won't go back on my words. Lin Tiandao. Xin Yao stared at Lin Tian and said, Then you should marry your sister. Lin Tian suddenly blushed with shame. He couldn't spit out a word. All right, I'm just teasing you. Xin Yao covered her mouth and laughed. Lin Tian was slightly embarrassed. After bidding farewell to everyone, he looked at Lin Shi. He crouched down in front of Lin Shi, his eyes filled with love and gentleness. Xiaoxi, when I'm not by your side, you must listen to Big Sister Su. I'll definitely come back when I'm successful in my cultivation. Looking at Lin Shi, Lin Tian's eyes were filled with love, but there was also a hint of guilt. Mu Qing and the others looked at Lin Tian and couldn't help but nod. He was really a gentle brother. Yes, Xiaoxi will definitely listen to Big Sister. When Xiaoxi is not around, Big Brother must take good care of himself. Lin Shi said obediently. Lin Tian's nose suddenly turned sour, and he actually felt like crying. He held Lin Shi in his arms for a full 10 breaths before he released Lin Shi and stood up. Please take care of my sister. Looking at Su Shu, Lin Tian said seriously, Don't worry. Su Shu nodded and held Lin Shi's small hand. I will treat Xiaoxi like my own sister. Leave the little girl in the Nanyang Marshall House. With us here, you don't have to worry. Mu Qing said. Mu Qing and Sherdong were very satisfied with Lin Tian's character and talent. Elders like them were very happy to help young people like Lin Tian. Thank you, Senior. Lin Tian bowed to Mu Qing and Sherdong. Then he nodded to Puxi and the others. Lin Tian mounted the dragon scale stallion and looked deeply at Lin Shi for the last time. Then he slapped the stallion's back and instantly went far away. Dust swirled up. The dragon scale stallion, a peak rank 3 demonic beast, was extremely fast. It was far from being comparable to an ordinary horse. Soon, it carried Lin Tian and disappeared from everyone's sight. Su Shu looked at Lin Tian as he left. Suddenly, she felt that her left hand was a little cold. She looked down with a strange expression. She saw Lin Shi, who had been very obedient and calm, staring at the direction Lin Tian left. Tears dripped down on the back of her hand. Su Shu was stunned. Then, she realized something. She squatted down and gently pulled Lin Shi into her arms. Leaning against Su Shu, Lin Shi couldn't hold back and burst into tears. Brother, woo-woo, brother. Lin Shi cried. Ever since their parents went missing, the siblings had been relying on each other and had never been separated. Now that she was suddenly left alone, how could the little girl not be sad? Xiaoxi, don't cry. Sister is here. Su Shu comforted. Gently patting Lin Shi's back, Su Shu sighed. Entering the imperial city alone, in order to ensure Lin Shi's safety, Lin Tian reluctantly left his sister in Fengjian City. And Lin Shi, in order not to make things difficult for her brother, in order to let her brother enter the imperial city with peace of mind, she pretended to be obedient. Only when her brother left did she burst into tears. Su Shu only felt that these two siblings had a very deep relationship. The distance between Fengjian City and the imperial city was not short. A normal red blood stallion would need at least 7 days and 7 nights to reach there. However, the dragon scale stallion was different. It was a peak rank 3 demonic beast. Lin Tian estimated that 3 days would be enough. Before leaving, he prepared a lot of things. There were more than 10 sets of clothes in the stone ring. As for spirit coins, he had the Mo clan's gold card, which had a total of 5 million. He didn't need to worry about anything. As for food, he didn't need to worry about it. There were 5 fasting pills in the stone ring. 1 pill a day was enough to support him to reach the imperial city. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Lin Tian's prediction was right. 3 days later, a huge city appeared in front of him. The city walls were tall and majestic, showing the aura of a king. This is the imperial city? It is indeed extraordinary, Lin Tian thought to himself. Entering the imperial city, the streets were filled with people. There was a dazzling array of goods, all of which were extraordinary. Lin Tian paid attention to the crowd and found that there were many powerful martial artists. There were actually many 8th and 9th rank body refinement realm martial artists. This made Lin Tian's heart move. One must know that in Fengjian City, a 9th rank body refinement realm martial artist could enter the inner house of the 9 Yang martial house. But in the imperial city, there were many such martial artists. It is indeed the gathering place of the Northern Flame country. Lin Tian kept praising. Not long after, Lin Tian arrived at a restaurant. This restaurant could only be considered average in the imperial city, but it was 10 times bigger than the most luxurious restaurant in Fengjian City. The people coming in and out were all well-dressed people. In the restaurant, a waiter came to welcome him. "Guest, are you eating or staying in the restaurant?" The waiter asked politely. "Staying in the restaurant." It was already late, and there were still 2 days before the registration day of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Lin Tian naturally wanted to find a place to settle down. He handed the reins of the dragon scale horse to the waiter and said, "Also, bring my horse to the backyard and feed it with good horse feed. Do you understand?" Seeing Lin Tian's dragon scale horse, the waiter was shocked. This was a 3rd-grade peak demonic beast, and it was actually tamed as a mount. "Yes, please be at ease. But guest, your luck is really good. There are many people in the imperial city, and we only have 1 room left. If you go elsewhere, you won't be able to find it." After seeing the dragon scale horse, the waiter was even more respectful. To be able to tame a 3rd-grade peak demonic beast as a mount, in the waiter's opinion, Lin Tian definitely wasn't weak. He estimated that Lin Tian was at least at the 9th level of body refinement. Such a person wasn't someone a mere waiter could offend. Serving Lin Tian as much as possible was the right thing to do. The waiter called the coachman over. After instructing him, the coachman carefully led the dragon scale horse to the backyard. "Guest, the accommodation in the restaurant and your horse is equivalent to 80 spirit coins per day," the waiter said. Lin Tian was slightly astonished. 80 spirit coins in Fengjian City was not a problem to stay in an ordinary restaurant for a month. But in the imperial city, this restaurant was only enough for a single day. It was truly shocking. However, Lin Tian didn't mind a mere 80 spirit coins. He took out 300 spirit coins and passed it to the waiter and said, "Stay for 2 days. Also, prepare some food and wine for me. This should be enough, right?" "Enough, enough. It's enough," the waiter quickly said. As he spoke, the waiter was prepared to bring Lin Tian to the guest room. Right at this moment, 2 people walked into the restaurant. The person in the lead was dressed in a gorgeous purple robe. He looked to be around 17 years old, and his expression was slightly arrogant. Beside the purple-robed young man was another young man. He looked to be around 18 years old, but he had a pointy mouth and ape-like cheeks. The moment he walked into the restaurant, he shouted, "Men, prepare the best room." The waiter was preparing to bring Lin Tian upstairs. When he saw the 2 of them enter, he immediately went up to them politely and said, "My apologies, guest. The last guest room in this restaurant has just been booked by this guest. I'm really sorry. If the 2 of you would like to eat any food or wine, this one can immediately call for them. The dishes will be served very soon." Hearing this, the young man with the pointy mouth and ape-like cheeks instantly darkened his face. "My young master wants to stay in the restaurant. Do you dare?" Staring at Lin Tian, the young man snorted and said, "He hasn't entered a room yet, right?" Return the money to him. We will pay twice the amount. The waiter was in a dilemma. Although twice the amount was tempting to the waiter, he had already taken Lin Tian's money. How could he return the money and chase them away? However, looking at the two people in front of him, it was obvious that they were not ordinary people and could not be offended. For a moment, the waiter didn't know what to do and hesitated for a moment. On the other side, the purple-robed young man had a displeased expression and said, "Li Huan, hurry up." The young man with the pointy mouth and ape-like cheeks was called Li Huan. When he heard this, he flattered, "Right away, right away. Young master, please wait a moment." As he spoke, Li Huan glanced at the waiter and took out a pouch of money and threw it at Lin Tian's feet. "This is 500 spirit coins. Quickly take it and get lost. If you delay my young master's rest, be careful of your head." Lin Tian indifferently glanced at Li Huan before his eyes landed on the waiter. "Where is the room? Lead the way." It was his first time in the imperial city, so he didn't want to cause trouble for the time being. The waiter moved his feet, but when he saw Li Huan's glare, he immediately stopped. Having worked in this restaurant for many years, the waiter knew that Li Huan was the purple-robed young man's follower and was not someone he could afford to offend. With a snort, Li Huan tilted his head and stared at Lin Tian. "Brat, you don't know what's good for you." As he spoke, Li Huan placed his right hand on Lin Tian's shoulder and prepared to teach Lin Tian a lesson. Lin Tian tilted his head, and his expression immediately turned cold. He raised his hand and grabbed Li Huan's hand and slowly moved it away from his shoulder. "Brat, you!" Li Huan's expression changed. His wrist was in pain from the person in front of him, and he couldn't break free. "Get lost!" Lin Tianling said and raised his leg to kick Li Huan's abdomen. With a bang, Li Huan screamed and was kicked out of the restaurant by Lin Tian. Chapter 124. 1 second remember literature building, providing you with interesting novels to read. Lin Tian had tolerated Li Huan once and did not bicker with him. However, this Li Huan wanted a yard after taking an inch. He actually wanted to take him down a notch. How could Lin Tian tolerate this? Tilting his head to look at the servant, Lin Tian said indifferently, "Lead the way." The servant's face turned pale. These two were obviously not ordinary people. Their clothes were much better than Lin Tian's. Wasn't this asking for trouble? Sure enough, at this moment, a cold snort was heard. The purple-clothed youth's face darkened. He quickly came in front of Lin Tian and said, "Before beating a dog, you have to look at its owner. Haven't you heard? How dare you touch my Xiao Wu's servant?" In the restaurant, many people had already noticed this and were watching. At this moment, when they heard the name Xiao Wu, many people's faces changed. "Xiao Wu? Is he from the Xia family in Linchuan City?" Someone stared. Linchuan City was the closest city to the imperial city. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was the second largest city in the northern Flame Country. There was a powerful martial arts family in Linchuan City, the Xia family. Even many people in the imperial city knew about them. I seem to have heard of them. The Xia family has a genius young master with a 7-star talent. I think his name is Xiao Wu. This can't be the person in front of us, right? Is it really that Xiao Wu? I heard that he has already reached the 3rd level of the divine range. Staring at the purple-clothed youth, many people's faces changed. Hearing these discussions and seeing the purple-clothed young man staring at Lin Tian without a change in expression, the attendant's face instantly turned pale. He didn't need to think to know that the purple-clothed young man before him was definitely the genius young master of the Xia family of Linchuan City, Xiao Wu. Thinking of this, the servant was about to cry. Why did he have to deal with this today? The servant smiled and quickly walked in front of the purple-clothed youth and said, "Young Master Xia, please calm down. I will discuss with this guest. I promise to give you a satisfactory ending." After saying that, the servant looked at Lin Tian and pushed the 300 spirit coins that Lin Tian had given to him. "Dear guest, this is the money for your room. I'll return it to you now. Then, you injured young Master Xia's follower. Why don't you apologize to young Master Xia and let this matter rest?" Lin Tian's face darkened. "Refund my room? Apologize to him?" Lin Tian naturally heard the words of the other people in the restaurant, but he did not care. So what if he was the young master of the Xiao family? He had already booked the guest room, so why should he give it away? As for the apology, that was a joke. It was an insult to him. He's the young master of the Xiao family. The manservant said anxiously. So what? Lin Tianling said. The servant was a little angry. How could this person not know what was good for him? Offending the young master of the Xiao family would not end well for him. In the restaurant, some of the other people also shook their heads and pointed at Lin Tian. This young man, Sai, is really a hothead. It's a good thing to be hot-blooded, but sometimes you have to know when to advance and when to retreat. Isn't that so? Offending the Xiao family is the same as digging his own grave. I guess he's from some small town and hasn't seen much of the world. That's possible. You can tell just by looking at his clothes. Many people whispered to each other. The manservant looked at Lin Tian and wanted to say something, but at this moment, a cold air suddenly spread out from the side, causing the manservant to tremble in fear. Xiao Wu stared at Lin Tian and said coldly, "Before I left, my father told me to keep a low profile after coming to the imperial city. But you're really too arrogant. If I don't teach you a lesson today, where will my Xiao family's face go?" Hearing this, Lin Tian laughed out loud. Keep a low profile? Others have already booked the room and paid for it, but you want to rob them. Your father told you to keep a low profile, and this is how you keep a low profile? Lin Tian said sarcastically. If this is the result of keeping a low profile, then what if you don't keep a low profile on a daily basis? Bullying people? Killing people on the street? Wreaking havoc? In the restaurant, hearing Lin Tian's words, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. This young man, he doesn't know what's good for him. He actually dares to talk back at this time. Isn't he looking for death? I'm afraid he knows he can't get anything out of this. Smashing a broken jar, he can still retain some of his so-called backbone. Many people shook their heads. How many people didn't know the Xia family of Linchuan City? This person talked back to the Xia family's young master. Wasn't he looking for death? Xiao Wu's expression became even more gloomy. He stared straight at Lin Tian. You're very good. Since I was young, you're the first person who dares to speak to me like this. As he said this, Xiao Wu directly moved, and a slap flew towards Lin Tian. This slap was aimed at Lin Tian's cheek. Obviously, Xiao Wu wanted to humiliate Lin Tianyi first. Lin Tianling snorted and raised his left hand, directly grabbing Xiao Wu's wrist. You dare to fight back? Xiao Wu's expression became even colder. Idiot. Do you think everyone in the world will listen to you? Do you think you're an emperor? Lin Tian was disdainful. He raised his right hand and slapped towards Xiao Wu's cheek. This slap was extremely fast, and it landed firmly on Xiao Wu's face. With a slap, Lin Tian released his grip on Xiao Wu's hand. Suddenly, Xiao Wu flew backwards with a bang and crashed into a pillar in the restaurant, letting out a muffled groan. The Xia family's young master was actually, oh my God. Book reading, staring at this scene, everyone revealed a look of shock. The waiter's face was even paler. He stared at Lin Tian, and his expression changed again and again. This person was actually so strong. Xiao Wu stared at Lin Tian, his expression incomparably ugly. You dare hit me? As soon as he finished speaking, an incomparably tyrannical aura spread out from Xiao Wu's body, shocking everyone present. Someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva, third level of the divine vein. As expected, violent fluctuations were emitted from Xiao Wu's body. Staring at Lin Tian, Xiao Wu's eyes were filled with anger. This aura was indeed somewhat terrifying. Many people in the restaurant were frightened, and many of them retreated not far away. The waiter retreated and was so anxious that he was about to cry. If these two people were to fight in the restaurant, who knew how many tables and chairs would be damaged? Today's business would probably be ruined as well. If that happened, the shopkeeper would probably have to kick him out tomorrow. The waiter only felt pain. What kind of sin did he commit to be involved in such a troublesome matter? The violent fluctuations continued to spread. In the restaurant, Many people stared straight at the center, their faces somewhat excited. After all, most people like to watch a good show. Your right hand will be left behind today. Staring at Lin Tian, Xiao Wu said coldly, I'm afraid you can't afford it. Lin Tianlong said indifferently. His figure moved. Stepping on the yin-yang puppet, he instantly moved dozens of feet away and arrived in front of Xiao Wu in the blink of an eye. With a clang, the origin-restoring sword suddenly appeared in his right hand and was firmly placed on Xiao Wu's neck. Xiao Wu's face changed drastically. The powerful aura on his body immediately receded like a tide. At the same time, the other people in the restaurant also had a change of expression. What fast speed? Also, that sword, when did he take it out? This young man is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Many of the onlookers were shocked. Some of the people who were criticizing Lin Tian for not knowing when to back down suddenly became incomparably embarrassed. After being kicked out of the restaurant by Lin Tian, Li Huan struggled for a long time before he stood up and walked back into the restaurant with a sinister expression. Li Huan thought that his young master would definitely teach Lin Tian a lesson. At that time, he would also be able to vent his anger. However, when he walked back into the restaurant, the scene in front of him immediately changed his expression. Young master, you. Staring in front of him, Li Huan was stunned. His young master's neck was actually held by that person's cold sword. After a pause, Li Huan suddenly reacted. Although he was shocked, he still remembered his status. He immediately shouted at Lin Tian, How dare you? My young master is the legitimate son of the Xia family in Linchuan City. How dare you point a sword at my young master? Do you want to die? Move the sword away. Lin Tian looked at Li Huan and said coldly, Scram. With a wave of his left hand, a ray of sword chi swept out and landed on Li Huan's body with a bang. Ah! Li Huan screamed as he was sent flying out of the restaurant once more. Seeing this scene, many people swallowed their saliva. They only felt that this young man in front of them was very strong. Lin Tian's gaze fell on Xiao Wu. Leave or die. Xiao Wu's face was ashen as he stared viciously at Lin Tian. You're just a little faster. In a fair battle, you're not my match. Xiao Wu gritted his teeth. If you say that, can I assume that you only have a good family background? Otherwise, you would have died countless times already. Lin Tian said disdainfully. Also, don't think that you're so great just because you're at the 3rd level of the divine range. I've even killed a few people at the 4th level of the divine range. You're nothing. Xiao Wu's expression changed slightly. He was angry and shocked. I'll ask you one more time. Scram or die here. Lin Tian Ondao. Xiao Wu stared at Lin Tian. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, I'll leave. Although he was arrogant and despotic, he was aware of the situation. With a sword at his neck, retreating was naturally the best choice. That's right. Lin Tian nodded. He suddenly raised his left hand, grabbed Xiao Wu's right wrist, and twisted it viciously. With a crack, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Xiao Wu was in so much pain that his face twisted. This is the return gift for keeping my right hand. Now, you can scram. Lin Tian said coldly. As he spoke, he raised his leg and kicked Xiao Wu's abdomen. With a bang, Xiao Wu was kicked out of the restaurant by Lin Tian, just like Li Huan. Such a scene shocked everyone so much that they sucked in a breath of cold air. Many people's eyes were fixed on the scene. That was the young master of the Xia family, a young genius at the 3rd level of the divine range. Now, he was kicked out of the restaurant by this young man. This was too crazy. Does this young man also have an illustrious family background? It's possible. Otherwise, how could he be so strong and dare to treat the young master of the Mo family like this? Staring at Lin Tian, many people shrank their necks. Chapter 125. Seeing Lin Tian looking at him, the waiter's face turned pale, and he nodded repeatedly. Of course. I'll lead the way. This way, please, this way, please. With that, the waiter's face was full of respect. This was a ruthless person who could even send young Master Xia flying with a kick. How could a mere waiter like him offend him? Lin Tian did not argue with the waiter and followed him to the second floor. Soon, the waiter brought Lin Tian to a slightly spacious room. The furnishings inside were not bad, but the most important thing was that it was very quiet. "Sir, this is the room. Are you satisfied?" The waiter asked fearfully. "Sure, you can leave now. Send some food up." Lin Tian on Dao. Sure. Please wait a moment. I'll be right there." The waiter left hurriedly. About 7 minutes later, the waiter came back again, personally carrying a few dishes and a pot of good wine. "Sir, please enjoy." The waiter bowed and left, carefully closing the door for Lin Tian. By the time Lin Tian finished his meal, the sky had completely darkened. Not long after, a full moon hung high in the night sky. Sitting cross-legged on the big bed in the guest room, Lin Tian began to cultivate. On the path of martial arts, one had to race against time and could not slack off. Wong! A faint silver light flashed as Lin Tian activated 2 spirit-gathering runes. The spirit energy of heaven and earth and the power of the stars surged and surrounded him. With the support of this spirit energy, he continued to temper his physique while connecting his meridians to his meridians. Soon, the night passed. In the morning, Lin Tian opened his eyes, stretched his arms, and got off the bed. After a sleepless night, Lin Tian did not feel tired. Instead, he felt more energetic. Walking down the stairs, Lin Tian went to the backyard to take a look at the dragon scale stallion. The stallion was well taken care of. When it saw him, it even raised its head and neighed twice, as though it was greeting him. "Ha!" Lin Tian walked over and stroked the horse. This was the mount that Su Shu had given him, and he liked it very much. After standing there for a while, Lin Tian walked out of the restaurant and onto the streets of the Imperial City. 2 days later, they would report to the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. Before that, Lin Tian wanted to pay a visit to someone, old General Ji. After asking around casually, Lin Tian walked in a certain direction. After about 2 hours, Lin Tian arrived in front of a majestic mansion. At the top of the mansion, there were 3 large words engraved, General's Mansion. After glancing around, Lin Tian walked forward. "Halt!" There were 2 powerful cultivators guarding the entrance of the General's Mansion. One of them stepped forward and stopped Lin Tian. Lin Tian stopped and said, "I want to see the old general. Please inform him." As he spoke, he took out the deputy general's order from the stone ring and shook it slightly. The expressions of the 2 powerhouses guarding the general's mansion changed, and their expressions immediately became respectful. "Please wait a moment," one of them said and walked straight into the mansion. Not long after, a hearty laugh came from the mansion, and an old man with a ruddy complexion walked out. It was the Empire's great general, Ji Yuanshan. Seeing this person, Lin Tian immediately went up to greet him. "Greetings, old general," Lin Tiandao said as he bowed slightly. Ji Yuanshan sized up Lin Tian, and after a while, his smile became even more joyful. His face was full of satisfaction. Good. Very good. Quick, little brother, please come in. This old man has been looking forward to this day." Lin Tian was not wearing a black robe, but he came with the deputy general's order, so Ji Yuanshan naturally knew who Lin Tian was. "Sorry to trouble you, old general." Lin Tian. As he spoke, Lin Tian followed Ji Yuanshan into the general's mansion. There were many passers-by outside the general's mansion, and when they saw this scene, they couldn't help but be shocked. Heavens, who was that young man? He actually made the old general come out to greet him personally. Even the masters of the big families in the imperial city can enjoy this kind of honor, right? Many passers-by widened their eyes. Lin Tian followed Ji Yuanshan and soon arrived at the main hall of the general's mansion. The general's mansion was very big, but it was not extravagant. On the contrary, the entire general's mansion was filled with a simple atmosphere, which made Lin Tian feel more comfortable. "Little brother, sit as you please," Ji Yuanshan said. The servant quickly brought tea and snacks, and then retreated. Lin Tian nodded, took out the deputy general's order, and said, "This thing should be returned to old general." Lin Tian's main purpose in coming to the general's mansion was to return the deputy general's order. Ji Yuanshan did not refuse, and took it and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, this old man has already resigned from the position of great general yesterday, so this thing will soon be meaningless." Resigned from the position of great general? Why is that? Lin Tian's expression changed. Ji Yuanshan said with a smile, "I'm old, and it's time to retire. This old man wants to spend more time with Xiao Yu, and in a few days, I'll find a good husband for Xiao Yu. Who knows, I might even be able to hold a grandson in my lifetime." Old general, you're a martial artist and your body is still very healthy. You don't have to worry about holding a grandson at all, but to resign from the position of great general is a great loss to the empire. Lin Tian said with a smile, "But how should I put it? If it were me, I would probably resign earlier than the great general. After all, family is more important." Ji Yuanshan laughed. "Little brother, you're interesting. By the way, little brother, can you tell me your real name?" "Lin Tian." Lin Tian said directly. "Lin Tian, not bad. Not bad." Ji Yuanshan nodded repeatedly. Looking at Lin Tian, Ji Yuanshan's face was full of satisfaction. One had to know that even the heirs of the imperial city's great clans always had a solemn expression in front of him, but Lin Tian appeared very casual, not restrained or rude. This kind of state of mind was really rare. Meeting Ji Yuanshan's scorching gaze, Lin Tian suddenly felt a burst of embarrassment. At this time, a young girl walked in from outside the main hall. "Grandfather, someone from the imperial family has come to invite you," the young girl said softly. Lin Tian tilted his head and saw the young girl dressed in white. She was slender and elegant, and her face could be said to be beautiful. This young girl, wasn't she Ji Yu? Ji Yu met Lin Tian's gaze and was shocked. "It's you." Lin Tian was a bit surprised. Ji Yu knew him? Logically speaking, it was impossible. Although he had saved this young girl, the two of them had never communicated. Moreover, he had only revealed his true identity in front of Ji Yuanshan today. Even if Ji Yuanshan wanted to tell Ji Yu, it was impossible. However, Ji Yu's expression just now clearly showed that she knew him. For a moment, Lin Tian was a bit puzzled. Ji Yuanshan also looked at Ji Yu strangely. "Xiao Yu, you know him?" "No, I don't know him," Ji Yu said with a red face. As she spoke, Ji Yu secretly glanced at Lin Tian. That day in Fengjin City, when Lin Tian was treating her injuries, she had woken up for a moment. Although it was only for a moment, and although her vision was a bit blurry, she had clearly seen Lin Tian's appearance. Of course, only she knew about this. Even Lin Tian didn't know. At that time, Lin Tian had closed his eyes to maintain his composure, so he didn't notice that she had opened her eyes. Thinking about that day, Ji Yu's heartbeat suddenly quickened. Ji Yuanshan looked at Ji Yu suspiciously. "Is that so? Why do I feel like you know him?" "It's not like that. You're overthinking it," Ji Yu said. Ji Yuanshan nodded and pointed at Lin Tian, smiling. "This is the little brother who saved your life that Grandpa mentioned to you before. His name is Lin Tian." As he spoke, Ji Yuanshan looked at Lin Tian and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, little brother, but there are some matters at the palace. This old man might have to make a trip there, so I won't be able to accompany you for the time being." At this moment, Ji Yu suddenly stepped forward and said, "It's fine, Grandpa. I'll entertain him." "HM?" Ji Yuanshan looked at Ji Yu strangely and said, "Little Yu, you're acting a little strange today. This seems to be the first time you've taken the initiative to entertain a guest, right?" Ji Yu's face reddened. "How can I be impolite when my savior comes to visit?" Yes, yes, yes. Grandpa has become muddle-headed." Ji Yuanshan slapped his forehead, looking enlightened. As he spoke, he looked at Lin Tian and smiled. "Little brother, this isn't the first time you've met this old man's granddaughter, Ji Yu. This old man will go to the palace for a while, so I'll let little Yu accompany you around in my place. What do you think?" Lin Tian originally wanted to bid farewell and leave, but Ji Yu took the initiative to entertain a guest, and Ji Yuanshan was like this. If he refused to leave, it would be impolite, so he could only nod. "All right," he said. Seeing that Lin Tian agreed, Ji Yuanshan laughed loudly and seemed very happy. Good, good, good. Little brother, you must wait for this old man to come back. Let's have a good drink. After saying that, Ji Yuanshan gave Ji Yu a few more instructions, then left with a big smile. In the blink of an eye, only Lin Tian and Ji Yu were left in the main hall. Facing the beautiful girl in front of him alone, Lin Tian suddenly felt a little awkward. After all, he had seen her naked before. Opposite him, Ji Yu looked at Lin Tian, her face slightly red, and she seemed a little unnatural. The man in front of her had seen her entire body and even touched it with his hands. For a moment, the two of them had their own thoughts, and the atmosphere was very strange. After a while, it was Ji Yu who spoke first. Lin Tian, can I take you out for a walk? Lin Tian happened to not know what to say, so when he heard Ji Yu's question, he immediately nodded. Okay, no problem. Seeing Lin Tian's reaction, Ji Yu couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle. What's wrong? Nothing. Ji Yu chuckled. She only felt that the man in front of her was a little dull, and actually a little cute. Then let's go out. Ji Yu said. Okay. Lin Tian nodded. Together with Ji Yu, the two of them walked side by side around the general's residence, then walked out of the residence. It was Lin Tian's first time in the Imperial City, so he didn't know much about the Imperial City. Ji Yu explained everything to him. During the process, the two of them walked side by side through many places, causing many people to be dumbfounded. Old General Ji's granddaughter is actually with a young man. Who is that young man? He can actually make the #1 prodigy of the Imperial City accompany him. It seems that even the future heirs of the major clans can enjoy such treatment. This? Oh my God! He can't be one of the princes, right? Nonsense! Rumor has it that even His Highness the Crown Prince was rejected when he invited Miss Ji for a gathering. Many people were shocked, and their jaws almost dropped. P.S. Well, it's the dragon's birthday today, so he's going out to celebrate with his two good buddies tonight. He'll probably be out a little late, so tomorrow's update will probably be a little late. Sorry, brothers and sisters. Chapter 126. Remember literature building in 1 second. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The pedestrians on the streets of the Imperial City were stunned. The Empire's #1 prodigy was actually walking with an unknown young man in the city. This was like a super earthquake, and many people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Facing the shocked gazes of the people around him, Ji Yu appeared very calm and did not care at all. This is the famous weapon trading center of the Imperial City. Occasionally, there will be treasures for sale. Right in front is the treasure loft. Oh, the largest auction house in the Imperial City. And over there is the Array Manipulator Guild. Ji Yu introduced Lin Tian one by one. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at Ji Yu. After a short period of interaction, he realized that besides being a little strange at the beginning, this young girl became very peaceful after she calmed down. Her every movement gave people an extremely elegant and refined feeling. What are you looking at? Ji Yu noticed Lin Tian's gaze. Lin Tian shook his head and smiled. Nothing. Ji Yu replied with an "oh" and smiled sweetly. Then she continued walking with Lin Tian. The two of them walked side by side in the Imperial City. The impact of this could be said to be shocking. In the blink of an eye, this matter was spread to every corner of the Imperial City. Imperial City, the most extravagant restaurant, Immortal Knowledge Water Tower. In the most luxurious private room in the Immortal Knowledge Water Tower, there was heavenly music. A dozen or so beautiful women were dancing under the cover of a thin veil. Good, good, good. Loud laughter echoed in the private room. A few young men who looked like young masters were toasting each other, staring straight at the dozen or so women. At this moment, a man who looked like a servant bowed and walked in. He whispered something to one of the young masters in luxurious clothes. Instantly, the young master's expression changed. Pa! With a crisp sound, the wine cup in the young man's hand shattered on the ground. Everyone in the room was shocked. The dozen or so beautiful women thought that they had offended this lord. They were so scared that they knelt down, trembling. What's wrong? Young Master Lung? A young master at the side asked. There were a total of 5 young men in the room, and they were all reputable young masters in the imperial city. However, the 5 of them were led by the well-dressed young man because his surname was Lung, and he was the young master of the Lung family, one of the 3 great families in the imperial city. The young man's face was gloomy. He didn't say a word and directly walked out. The young men had strange expressions on their faces. After the young man in luxurious clothes left, they called over the attendant that had walked in earlier and questioned him. The attendant naturally didn't dare conceal anything and spoke swiftly. What? That Ji was actually accompanying an unknown youth in the city? Are you happy? A young man was shocked. The young men looked at each other with widened eyes. Let's go and take a look, another person said. In an instant, all of them rushed out and quickly followed behind the finely dressed youth. On the streets of the imperial city, Lin Tian followed beside Ji. Before they knew it, they had already walked several long roads. Lin Tian felt a little speechless. Everywhere he went, he was always stared at like a rare treasure. What happened? Ji asked. Lin Tiandao said, Look around. Do I look like I'm being stared at like a national treasure? Ji glanced around, then covered his mouth and chuckled. After a pause, Ji seemed to have thought of something. He asked again, Do you like this feeling? Lin Tianwei was stunned. She said, It's all right. Anyway, I don't hate it. That's good. Ji muttered to himself in a low voice. What did you say? Nothing. Let's go ahead. There's a small market there. It's quite fun. Ji said. Lin Tian looked at Ji strangely, but he didn't ask anything. Small markets were very rare in large cities like the imperial city. Most of them were gathering places for the commoners of the lowest status. Hawkers and peddlers would gather there. All kinds of items were very common. Of course, they were also very cheap. Scallion pancakes, delicious, crispy, and not greasy. Intestine dumplings, crispy flour cakes, fragrant, sweet, and delicious. The market was a little crowded. All kinds of hawking voices could be heard. Hearing these voices and seeing the people walking in and out of the market, Lin Tian felt that it was quite amiable. The two of them quickly attracted the attention of many people in the small market. Miss Ji, you're here again? Fresh steamed buns. Miss Ji, do you want some? This old woman has fresh fruits. Miss Ji, if you don't mind, you can take some back. It's free. Miss Ji, who's that young man beside you? Could he be the future one? Ha! This young man is quite handsome. He looks good. Enthusiastic voices came from all around them. In the surroundings, quite a few people revealed smiles towards Ji, all of them appearing extremely respectful. Even their attitudes towards Lin Tian were amiable. Lin Tian could see that the respect on these people's faces came from the bottom of their hearts. It wasn't fear. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were surrounded by enthusiastic people. They gave them a lot of things without any explanation. They were all snacks and fruits, but no one asked for money. Thank you, Uncle Li. Thank you, Aunt Lu. Ji thanked them one by one. After a long time, he finally broke out of the crowd. Lin Tian was a little speechless. At the same time, he was also a little curious. Do you come here often? Lin Tian asked. Ji nodded. The environment here is very good. Lin Tian looked around. The environment was very good? It didn't seem so. In fact, the environment here wasn't good at all. It was congested and noisy. Of course, he knew what Ji was referring to. He was probably referring to the simple atmosphere. I didn't expect that the granddaughter of the great general, the #1 prodigy of the imperial city, would have such a friendly side. Lin Tian smiled. Ji tilted his head. Why do you look so strange? Do you think that I should be high and mighty and that I should go in and out of jade palaces? Lin Tian thought for a moment. Well, that's something like that. Ji stared at Lin Tian and couldn't help but chuckle. You're so honest. Girls don't like you. Is that so? I never thought about that. Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. Idiot, Ji said angrily. Lin Tian was even more embarrassed. He scratched the back of his head and continued to walk forward with Ji. Although this market was the gathering place of the lowest class of commoners, it was still in the imperial city. Naturally, it wasn't small. Not only were there delicious food, but there were also fun things such as catching goldfish, setting rings, throwing darts, and so on. Well, do you want to play? Jiyu pointed ahead. Lin Tian looked up and saw a small stall in front of him. There were many interesting things that weren't considered precious on the stall. As long as one spent a little money to buy rings from the stall owner and put the rings on the small things, they could take the things in the rings. Lin Tian blushed with shame. We're cultivators. Wouldn't it be too much of a scam to play this? Just treat yourself as an ordinary person. Jiyu said. Lin Tian was speechless. That didn't seem to be possible, right? Jiyu seemed to be quite interested. Lin Tian naturally wouldn't stop him. He saw Jiyu take out 10 rings and throw a set of rings at a ceramic puppy on the stall. In the end, he missed. Lin Tian was a little surprised. Jiyu's cultivation wasn't weak. Although the rings were very small and were a little far from the ceramic puppy, he shouldn't have missed. Because even a cultivator in the body refinement realm would be able to steadily catch the rings. Lin Tian was a little puzzled. How can an ordinary 16-year-old girl catch the rings on the first try? For ordinary people, this thing is quite difficult. Jiyu said. Lin Tian stood quietly at the side and watched Jiyu use 10 rings in succession. Then, he bought dozens more before he finally managed to catch the ceramic puppy. He took it from the stall owner with a little joy and waved it at Lin Tian, as if he was presenting a treasure. Staring at Jiyu, Lin Tian's expression was a little surprised. He had been seriously watching. Jiyu had thrown the hoop a total of 68 times and had failed 67 times. Of these 67 times, every failure looked very natural. There was nothing deliberate or pretentious about it. This caused Lin Tian to be very shocked. Jiyu was obviously a cultivator in the divine pulse realm, but the series of movements just now were really no different from an ordinary person's. Logically speaking, this should be impossible. As a cultivator, powerful strength sometimes became a kind of instinct. For example, if a person who was good at swimming deliberately pretended that he couldn't swim and was drowning, it would be very difficult. At least it would be easy for others to see through it. However, Jiyu's movements were so natural. Why don't you give it a try? Jiyu handed the rings in his hand to Lin Tian. No, I can't do it like you. Lin Tian shook his head. If he tried and didn't deliberately pretend to fail, he would definitely succeed. Looking at Jiyu, he couldn't help but ask, how did you do it just now? It seemed to be very difficult to temporarily become an ordinary person. At least, Lin Tian didn't think that he could do it to this extent now. I don't know. I don't understand. I just wanted to do it. Jiyu shook his head. Lin Tian was speechless. His words were too hurtful. After helping Jiyu put away the puppy, Lin Tian temporarily put away some other things in the stone ring. The two of them continued to walk forward. You have such good things? Jiyu blinked. Lin Tian shook the stone ring in his right hand and rolled his eyes helplessly. You're talking like a country bumpkin carrying a gold brick. Jiyu burst out laughing. I didn't mean that. The two of them walked side by side and soon walked more than half of the market. At this moment, the crowd behind them seemed to be a little noisy. Get out of the way! A cold shout rang out. The crowd was forcibly pushed aside, and 5 young men walked over. The person in the lead was dressed in luxurious clothes and had a dignified appearance. Xiao Yu, the young man in luxurious clothes, called out and quickly walked to Lin Tian and Jiyu. Lung Yi Tong. Jiyu was slightly surprised. Then he asked, "What's the matter?" Lin Tian naturally saw the young man in luxurious clothes. A cold light flashed in his eyes. A familiar face. Back then, he had ordered someone to assassinate him in Fengjian City. Now they met again in the Imperial City. Of course, he wouldn't mention what happened that day. He just stood quietly beside Jiyu. Lung Yitong didn't know that Lin Tian was the person under the black robe that day. He glanced coldly at Lin Tian. Seeing that Lin Tian's clothes were very ordinary, he turned to Jiyu and asked gently, "Xiao Yu, what are you doing?" "Who is he?" "A guest." Jiyu said, "A guest?" Lung Yitong frowned. "Yes." Chapter 127. The young men behind Lung Yitong were shocked. They looked at Lin Tian in surprise. Who was this person to be treated as a guest by the Empire's #1 prodigy? He looked like an ordinary person. What guest? I don't think you've ever received a guest before, right? Lung Yitong frowned even more. Ji Yu shook his head. He's different. Lung Yitong was a little unhappy. He paused and looked at Lin Tiandao. Friend, who are you? Who are you? Lin Tian asked. Lung Yitong's face darkened. Not many people dared to talk to him like this in the Imperial City. I'm Lung Yitong, from the Lung family. May I know your name? Lung Yitong asked. The other young men were shocked. They often hung out with Lung Yitong, so they knew that Lung Yitong was angry. Once the young master of the Lung family was angry, the consequences would be severe. I've never heard of it. Lin Tian looked indifferent. He turned to Ji Yu and asked, Shall we go back? Ji Yu was stunned. He smiled and said, Sure. Ji Yu followed Lin Tian and walked back the way they came. Lung Yitong's face turned cold. He blocked the way and stared at Lin Tian. I'm asking you a question. Staring at Lin Tian, Lung Yitong emitted a cold aura. Lin Tian looked at Lung Yitong and was surprised. He remembered that when they met in Fengjian City, Lung Yitong was only at the 5th firmament of the body refinement realm. But now, he had reached the 2nd firmament of the divine vein realm. This cultivation speed was a little too fast. It was abnormal. What he didn't know was that a big family, like the Lung family, had countless spiritual pills and elixirs. It wasn't difficult for them to produce a divine vein realm expert. Lung Yitong, I said that he's my guest. Be more polite. Ji Yu was a little unhappy. I'm sorry, little Yu. I'll apologize to you later. Lung Yitong looked at Lin Tian coldly. I'll ask again. What's your name? If possible, let's be friends. After all, you're Xiao Yu's guest. No need. I'm not interested in becoming friends with you. Lin Tian said calmly. Ji Yu looked at Lin Tian in surprise. Lin Tian had been very calm before. Why was he acting so strange now? Behind him, the few young men sucked in a breath of cold air. Lung Yitong was the young master of the Lung clan, one of the 3 great clans in the Imperial City. The force behind him was shocking. In the Imperial City, how many people dared to disrespect him? But now, such an ordinary-looking young man was actually speaking to Lung Yitong in such a manner. Lung Yitong's expression turned even uglier. His eyes became incomparably gloomy. But I'm very interested in becoming friends with you. As he spoke, he took a step forward and stared coldly at Lin Tian. He said, Besides that, no one in the Imperial City has ever dared to disobey me like this. It's best that you consider carefully before speaking. Ji Yu frowned. Lung Yitong's words were a blatant threat. Looking at Lung Yitong, Ji Yu was about to speak, but Lin Tian was one step ahead of her. No one has ever dared to disobey you? Then, you're in luck because there's one now. Lin Tian said calmly. The few young men behind Lung Yitong widened their eyes. Who was this young man? How could he be so arrogant? Lin Tian glanced at Lung Yitong and said to Ji Yu, Let's go. Ji Yu nodded and followed Lin Tian with a strange expression. She was the one who brought Lin Tian here. She was the host. But now, it seemed like Lin Tian had become the host. Stop right there. Lung Yitong's expression was cold. In a flash, she stood in front of the 2 of them again. Staring at Lin Tian, Lung Yitong emitted a cold aura with a hint of murderous intent. Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. Now we're leaving. You can try blocking me again if you dare. After he finished speaking, he walked around Lung Yitong and walked forward. Lung Yitong snorted and stood in front of Lin Tian again. In the Imperial City, there's no one that I, Lung Yitong, can't stop. Lung Yitong opened her mouth coldly. Unfortunately, before she could finish, a slap flew toward her. With a resounding slap, Lung Yitong was sent flying several meters away. A good dog doesn't block the way. Haven't you heard of this saying? Lin Tian retracted his right hand and said coldly. The few young men widened their eyes. They could only feel cold sweat dripping down their backs. Where did this young man come from? He dared to slap the young master of the Lung family, one of the three major families. Did he not know how to spell the word death? Many passers-by nearby were also shocked. They all looked at Lin Tian in shock. Although these people were commoners, they were very clear about many things. Almost all of them knew Lung Yitong's identity. Lin Tian dared to slap the young master of the Lung family. "How dare you? How dare you?" The few young men reacted and immediately shouted at Lin Tian. These people were with Lung Yitong. Their status was much lower than Lung Yitong's. Lung Yitong was their leader. Now that Lung Yitong was sent flying, they naturally had to stand up for him. Of course, since Lin Tian was standing with Ji Yu, the few of them did not dare to go overboard. They only scolded him and did not dare to make a move. Lin Tian tilted his head and glanced coldly at the few of them. Meeting Lin Tian's eyes, the few of them were shocked and could not help but take a step back. Lin Tian was an expert in the second tier of the Divine Pulse realm. Moreover, his hands were stained with blood. He had even wiped out a small martial arts family. The cold aura that he deliberately exuded was not something that a few young masters in the body-tempering stage could resist. Staring at Lin Tian, the few of them had a slightly unpleasant expression. At this moment, a strong wave of vital core exploded. It was accompanied by a chilling, murderous intent. It was terrifying. Lung Yitong stood up. His face had a clear expression. His eyes were like a venomous snake. He stared at Lin Tian and said, "How dare you hit me? No matter who you are, don't think of leaving here alive today. I want you to die without a burial place." As soon as he finished speaking, Lung Yitong rushed towards Lin Tian like a ghost. His speed was extremely fast. He covered the distance of a few feet in an instant. The soul-chasing puppet of the Lung family. Ji Yu was shocked. He wanted to help Lung Yitong, but Lin Tian raised his hand and grabbed Lung Yitong's wrist. This scene made Ji Yu's expression change instantly. The few young men were also shocked. How is this possible? The Lung family was one of the three major martial arts families in the Imperial City. They had many profound martial arts manuals. Among them, the soul-chasing puppet was the most famous one. Once the soul-chasing puppet was used, it was said that no one could stop it. This was because this martial arts technique was an extremely shocking movement technique. After the Lung family used the soul-chasing puppet, ordinary people would be killed before they could even see the shadow clearly. At this moment, Lung Yitong's soul-chasing puppet was easily broken by someone else. How could he not be shocked? Staring at Lin Tian, Lung Yitong was also shocked. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. Lung Yitong felt pain in his wrist. Lin Tian had broken the bones in his hand. "You!" Staring at Lin Tian, Lung Yitong's face was ferocious. Lin Tian snorted. He raised his leg and kicked Lung Yitong's abdomen. With a bang, Lung Yitong was sent flying again. This time, Lin Tian did not hold back. Lung Yitong was in so much pain that he broke out in cold sweat. He could not stand up for a long time. "Let's go." Lin Tian tilted his head and said to Ji Yu. "Oh, okay." Ji Yu nodded. As the granddaughter of the great general, Ji Yu naturally did not care about the power behind Lung Yitong. He only looked at Lin Tian strangely. This person was very calm before. Why did he suddenly become so aggressive? Moreover, he was so powerful. "What are you looking at?" Lin Tian asked. "Nothing." Ji Yu shook his head. Lin Tian smiled and did not say anything. He followed Ji Yu out of the market. Lung Yitong was lying on the ground. He was in a sorry state. Blood was flowing out of his mouth. "Young Master Lung." A few young men were shocked. They hurriedly ran over and helped Lung Yitong up. Lung Yitong's face was extremely gloomy. He stared in the direction where Lin Tian left. His eyes were like a poisonous snake. "Young Master Lung, how are you?" One of them asked cautiously. Lung Yitong straightened his body and pushed the young men away with a cold face. "Investigate. Find out all the information about him within a day. I don't care who he is. I want him dead." Lung Yitong said coldly. "Yes, young Master Lung," one of the young men hurriedly said. Lung Yitong's face was sinister. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. There were many people around. When they saw Lung Yitong's expression, everyone retreated far away, afraid of offending him. At this time, Lin Tian and Ji Yu had already walked out of the market. Do you want to go somewhere else? Ji Yu asked. No, it's late. I want to go back first. I booked a room in a restaurant. Lin Tian on Dao. Ji Yu was stunned. You want to go back? Yes, what's wrong? Lin Tian was curious. You can't. Grandpa said that he wants you to stay tonight. Ji Yu looked at Lin Tian and said, there are many guest rooms in the general's residence. Stay the night at the general's residence. If you leave, Grandpa will be angry with me. He will blame me for not treating you well. Lin Tian was speechless. The old general dotes on you. Why would he be angry with you? In any case, you can't leave. Ji Yu said. Lin Tian, why did this young girl look a little strange again? In the end, Lin Tian could not persuade Ji Yu. He followed Ji Yu back to the general's residence. At night, Ji Yuanshan rushed back. He looked much more relaxed, as if a mountain had been lifted off his shoulders. Little brother, did Xiaoyu treat you well? Ji Yuanshan smiled. Very well. Lin Tian nodded. Ji Yuanshan was even happier. He looked at Ji Yu and said, this old man is most proud of having a granddaughter like her. That night, Lin Tian drank a lot with Ji Yuanshan. They drank until dawn. At almost the same time, in the Lung family, Lung Yitong's room, a secret letter was placed on the table. Lin Tian, 16 years old, used to be a disciple of Fengjian City's Nanyang martial house. He once saved the great general's granddaughter and held the great general's deputy command. He will be entering the Imperial City to cultivate in the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. Lung Yitong's face turned gloomy after reading the letter. He crumpled the letter. It's him, that bastard from back then. After a pause, Lung Yitong suddenly sneered. Cultivate in the Northern Flame Imperial Academy? Hey, interesting. There's still one more day before the Northern Flame Imperial Academy officially accepts new disciples. I've prepared a surprise for you. Chapter 128. Early in the morning, Lin Tian woke up early and went to the courtyard of the general's residence to cultivate. No pop-up window. A few minutes later, with a creak, Ji Yuanshan walked out from a nearby room. Seeing that Lin Tian had actually woken up so early to cultivate, Ji Yuanshan's eyes flashed. Little brother, you're early? Ji Yuanshan smiled. Lin Tian Dao. Not at all. I just woke up. Ji Yuanshan smiled and walked to the side to warm up his body. After all, Ji Yuanshan was also a martial arts cultivator. Not long after, Ji Yu walked out from the side. Grandpa, breakfast is ready. Ji Yuanshan nodded and smiled at Lin Tian. Little brother, let's go. See how you cooked personally. It's very good. Personally? Lin Tian was a little surprised and looked at Ji Yu strangely. The general's residence definitely did not lack servants, but Ji Yu actually cooked personally? In that case, didn't he wake up earlier than him? Breakfast was very simple. It was thick millet porridge, but the taste was very special. How is it? Ji Yuanshan asked. Not bad. Lin Tian replied honestly. Ji Yuanshan laughed and was very happy. Then eat more. Speaking of which, in this world, other than this old man, only you can eat something personally cooked by Xiaoyu. Lin Tian Wei was stunned. This was really rare. Breakfast was soon over. Lin Tian bid farewell to Ji Yuanshan and prepared to leave. Why don't I send you there? Ji Yu suddenly said. Lin Tianyi was stunned. Even Ji Yu looked at Ji Yu in surprise. Xiaoyu, you've been a little strange these 2 days. You're not usually like this. You seem to be very enthusiastic. To be honest, Ji Yuanshan's words were a little tactful. Usually, Ji Yu would not be so proactive with anyone. Ji Yu blushed and said, because you saved my life. Is that so? That's right. Ji Yuanshan did not have too many doubts. Then send him off. Lin Tian said, Old General, this is it? It didn't seem appropriate for a young girl to send him back to the restaurant. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Ji Yuanshan clearly knew what Lin Tian was thinking. He laughed heartily and said, Little brother, Do you still remember what this old man said to you when we parted that day? From the looks of it, the two of you seem to be fated to meet. As he spoke, Ji Yuanshan looked at Ji Yu and said, "Go, little Yu." Ji Yuanshan smiled at the two of them and walked towards the backyard. Lin Tian was rather embarrassed and didn't know what to say. This old general, what was he thinking? "Lin Tian, are you leaving?" Ji Yu asked. "Is there really no problem?" Lin Tian asked. To be honest, Lin Tian wasn't used to walking with Ji Yu, especially when Ji Yu proposed to send him back to the restaurant and take a look at his current residence. He felt that it was a little strange. However, since Ji Yu had already proposed it, if he directly refused, it would hurt the girl's face. "What problem?" "No problem," Ji Yu said. Lin Tian said helplessly, "Then all right." The two of them walked out of the general's estate. This time, Lin Tian led the way and walked towards the restaurant. The servants in the general's mansion and the two experts guarding the general's mansion couldn't help but stare at this scene. This young miss actually accompanied the youth for 2 days in a row. Could it be? Everyone was shocked. Many of the servants in the general's estate were old. In recent years, they had watched Ji Yu grow up, but they had never seen their young miss accompany anyone like this. In the past, even a princess of the imperial family couldn't enjoy such treatment when she came to the general's estate. Lin Tian and Ji Yu walked in the imperial city and soon arrived at the restaurant where they were staying. "Are we really going in?" Lin Tian stopped in his tracks. "Yes." Ji Yu nodded. Lin Tian was a little helpless. He could only lead Ji Yu inside. When they entered the restaurant, the waiter happened to pass by. He immediately looked at Lin Tiandao respectfully. "Sir, you're back. You weren't here yesterday, so I thought." As he spoke, the waiter suddenly saw Ji Yu beside Lin Tian. At first, he was stunned, but then his expression changed drastically. "Mississippi. Miss Ji." The waiter trembled and almost knelt on the ground. She was the granddaughter of the imperial general, the #1 prodigy in the imperial city. How many people didn't know her? For a moment, not only the waiter but everyone in the restaurant was shocked. Lin Tian face-bombed. He knew it would turn out this way. "What's next?" "Let's go to your room." Ji Yu didn't seem to be shy at all. Lin Tian felt that this young girl was a little strange. Wasn't she a little too friendly with him? "All right." Lin Tian didn't know what to say. He could only follow the stairs to the second floor. Ji Yu was very calm. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. He quietly followed behind Lin Tian. It wasn't until the two of them were far away that the restaurant burst into gasps of surprise. "Who is that young man? He's actually walking with that person?" Many people were shocked. The waiter couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. He muttered to himself, No wonder he doesn't care about young Master Xia. He's actually with that Miss Ji." Lin Tian led Ji Yu to his room. Ji Yu looked left and right. "How was it?" Lin Tian asked. "What?" Ji Yu was a little confused. "My room. Didn't you say you wanted to come up and take a look?" Ji Yu was stunned. He muttered softly, "Idiot." At this time, a neigh sounded. It seemed that the dragon scale horse in the backyard of the restaurant had heard Lin Tian's voice. Lin Tian opened the window and looked out. He couldn't help but smile. Ji Yu followed his gaze. "That dragon scale horse, is it yours?" "Yes, a friend gave it to me. This horse is quite intelligent." Lin Tian smiled. "Friend?" Ji Yu paused. "Is it a man or a woman?" "A woman." Lin Tian on Dao. Lin Tian couldn't help but smile when he thought of that girl, Su Shu. After leaving Fengjin City for a few days, he missed her. There was also Lin Shi. He didn't know if she was doing well. Thinking of Lin Shi, Lin Tian's eyes couldn't help but become very gentle. Seeing Lin Tian's expression, Ji Yu's face suddenly turned pale. "That girl, you have a girl you like?" "No, it's just a very, very good friend. She helped me a lot." Lin Tian on Dao. "Your eyes were so gentle just now. I'm thinking of my sister." "Sister?" Ji Yu was stunned. "You have a sister?" "Yes, what's wrong?" "No." Ji Yu shook his head repeatedly. He actually heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Can you take me to see her when you have time?" "Okay." Lin Tian nodded. He felt that this was a little strange. Jiyu stayed in the restaurant for about an hour, and then left. Of course, Lin Tian naturally sent Jiyu off personally. Then, he walked him all the way to the general's residence. Sorry to trouble you. Jiyu was a little embarrassed. It's my pleasure. Lin Tian on Dao. This time, Lin Tian didn't enter the general's residence. He said goodbye to Jiyu outside the general's residence, and then left. Jiyu stood in front of the general's residence and stared at Lin Tian's back until Lin Tian disappeared from his sight. He's a little silly, Jiyu muttered to himself, and then turned to enter the general's residence. Lin Tian was already very far away. Thinking about it, Jiyu sent him back to the restaurant from the general's residence, and he sent Jiyu back from the restaurant. Both of them were very funny. Shaking his head, Lin Tian's gaze suddenly fell on a very prominent building in the distance. The Imperial City's Array Manipulator Association. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He paused for a moment and then walked in that direction. Soon, Lin Tian arrived in front of the Array Manipulator Association. There was no one standing guard outside the association, so Lin Tian easily walked in. Hello, sir. Is there anything I can help you with? A waitress came up to him with a professional smile on her face. Lin Tian nodded and said, I'm here for the Array Manipulator certification. When he was in Supervisor Feng City, he had been certified as an Array Manipulator and had reached the 3rd level. Unfortunately, the Array Manipulator Association in Supervisor Feng City could only issue a badge for a 2nd level Array Manipulator. Those above the 2nd level could only be issued by the Imperial City. At this moment, Lin Tian happened to pass by the Array Manipulator Association, so he walked in. Array Manipulator certification? The female attendant was shocked. Are you sure? It was no wonder that the female attendant was so surprised. After all, Lin Tian was really too young. I'm sure. Please inform them. Lin Tian on Dao. This expression was within his expectations from the very beginning. Although the female attendant didn't believe it, she didn't refuse Lin Tian's request. She bowed slightly and said, Okay, please wait a moment. After saying that, the female attendant walked into the association's backyard. Lin Tian sized up the Array Manipulator Association in the Imperial City. He discovered that the association here was at least 10 times bigger than the one in Supervisor Feng City. The decorations were also very grand. The only similarity was that there was a mission board in the Imperial City's Array Manipulator Association. Many people were gathered under the mission board. At this time, 3 old men walked out of the association's backyard at the same time. The 3 of them looked to be in their 60s, but their complexions were very rosy. Especially the one in the middle, he gave off a strong sense of oppression. Elder Nya, Elder Jean, and Lord Vice President. Heavens, why did the 3 of them come out at the same time? Did something big happen? Many people in the association stared with wide eyes. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the 3 old men quickly walked in front of Lin Tian. Young man, did you come from Supervisor Feng City? The one in the middle asked. This person's name was Qin Feng, the vice president of the Imperial City's Array Manipulator Association. Yes, how did you know? Lin Tian Wei was puzzled. As expected, Qin Feng and the 2 old men on his left and right looked at each other. He smiled and said, Before this, the Array Manipulator Guild of Feng Administrative City had already sent us your information and the news that you were coming to the Imperial City. Just now, when we 3 old men heard that there was a 16-year-old boy coming to get his Array Manipulator certification, we guessed it was you. When Supervisor Feng City's Array Manipulator Association reported the news of Lin Tian's arrival to the Imperial City, the whole association was shocked. They had been waiting for Lin Tian's arrival. One had to know that a 16-year-old who had reached the 3rd level of Control Array was simply a supreme figure in the future. So when they heard the maid report that a 16-year-old young man had come to take the certification, the 3 of them subconsciously thought that it was the peerless genius of Feng Jian City. They were very excited and personally came out to welcome him. So it's like this. Lin Tian understood. Seeing that Lin Tian understood, the 3 old men smiled. Little brother, this way. Qin Feng said. Okay. Lin Tian Dao. Immediately, Lin Tian followed the three old men to the association's backyard. P.S. I wish brothers and sisters a happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Remember to eat the mooncakes. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.